Let's do the damn thing.
Oh, you know what time it is. It's time to take it to the Birdland. It's about to go down. Hope y'all ready. Yeah, let's go. Come and roll with me to the Birdland. Friends got to giving you the word, man. Any other BS is absurd, man. Sports talk and they give it to you firsthand. They can talk Terps, they can talk O's. Yeah, they both lit. That's how it goes. Baltimore squad, Ravens and Poe. Better tune in. Here gonna show. Birdland, Birdland, Birdland. BS. Birdland, Birdland, Birdland. BS.
It's all about that BS, baby.
What's up, BSers?
What's up, peeps?
Fred, Scott, Ryan, James in the house tonight. Drew is dealing with the Mucinex men running through the family, apparently.
Yeah, I guess their whole 4th of July weekend was like ruined from the sickness or whatever. So I hope you guys are all getting better.
Yeah, hopefully everybody's feeling better. How you guys feeling out there? Everybody have a fun 4th of July day weekend? For me, it was a 4-day weekend. Got to play golf with some of the fellas.
Yeah.
Which went well-ish.
Well-ish, yeah.
Weather was great.
Ryan turned his game around in the second half.
Yeah, Scott's a hell of a caddy. He shaved 26 strokes off. That's how bad I was in the first half.
Yeah, well, when you shoot 72 on the front nine, it's pretty easy to shave off 26 strokes.
It's not
right?
easy, but when Drew starts telling me what to, or not Drew, but Scott starts telling me what to do, it was a lot easier.
You just got to play to what you're doing, that's all.
Yeah. Hopefully everybody out there had a good time with their family, got some well-deserved time off from work, and some good R&R.
Yeah, I was excited. It was just a relaxing weekend for the most part. You know, we went out 4th of July morning, which it was like debatable. Do we go out? But we went out at 8 a.m. tee time, got there.
Weather was great.
Played about a 4.5 hour round. We were done like 12:30. Yep. So we were out and we were able to do whatever we wanted to do for the rest of the day. So it was nice and got to go see the fireworks and have some fun. So
yeah, got to go swimming. I pretty much sat in the pool for about 6 hours with my iPhone underwater.
I was going to say, I hear your
iPhone 12
made it.
is waterproof certified. I can attest to that now after it was underwater for quite some time.
We enjoyed a minor league game.
We did. We ended up going to Aberdeen, had a good time up there, got to see a very fast-paced game as the first like 7 or 8 innings went by quickly, and then as the Ironbirds were down 3-0, had a nice comeback victory. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later in the show too.
Yeah.
Got to see fireworks twice that game.
We did. So the Ravens, we're going to talk a little bit about some off-season moves that have looked good on paper, and so far the little bit that we've seen in camp. But is it going to be good enough to appease the fans? Because if you're listening to social media right now, expectations with this team are extremely high. And is that realistic to have these kind of expectations? I got into some good Twitter debates today with a couple of our followers and a couple of friends of the show, so I want to talk a little bit about that.
Why are we appeasing the fans and not just worrying about being competitive?
Yeah. Well, we'll talk more about that. I'm interested to see what your take is on that because you didn't chime in. So
no.
The Orioles. Still struggling.
It's been a struggle, guys. But look, there's a few bright spots that are keeping it alive. Seti Mo, your boy, your son.
My son.
He is headed out to Coors Field along with Trey. Trey in a different light. But yeah, it's exciting to see some of the bright spots. Even down in the minors, there's some bright spots that are kind of happening. But the ones at the majors, I think, are obviously getting the national attention, and it's well deserved. Yeah.
Well, one bright spot down in the minors that we got to see up close has been struggling. And he continued to struggle when we were there at Aberdeen, so we're going to talk a little bit about that.
Okay.
The Terps lose out on, 2/3 of the big three that we've been talking about, Ryan. So does that mean this year's expectations change, you think?
I think they changed for me. This was kind of about worst-case scenario for me. We've done much better on the recruiting, getting additions than I thought we would. But I thought we'd get at least 2 out of 3 back. I didn't think we would go 1 for 3.
Yeah.
So my expectations are slightly dampered.
I guess the locker room wasn't good enough for them.
That's a football thing, but we'll talk about it for sure.
And then this week's rundown. I don't know how, but you and I both picked the biggest tragedies of the week for our rundown.
It's the depressed cast.
Yeah, then we got some bad dad jokes. We got a new edition back here that Mo's sitting on. We're gonna do a little bit of formal would you rather's.
Yeah, so I don't have to pull these out of my ass anymore.
No, you can pull them out of a box now.
Yeah, nice.
Just don't put the box in your ass. We don't need to be up that road. But then we're also after hours. We've got our first annual Birdland BS Dynasty draft. We're going to do the order selection tonight live on the show. Big thing, a lot of debate been going on, and rules and changes and how we want to set this up. So you guys get to see who all's involved, and then we might just have to get Ken Zales on here to talk a little fantasy.
Yes, that'd be good. That'd be good. So for those that are in the Dynasty League, make sure you tune back in. If you're not going to stay in for the entire show, probably around like 9:15, 9:30. That's when the after hours should start. And we'll do the live draft at that point.
Ryan will tune back in for the Terp segment and then
Ryan's
go right into
go to
it.
sleep for a little bit.
Yeah.
But before we do too much, we do want to remind you, if you've ever been injured at work or in an auto accident, weren't sure who to call, 855-MD-CRASH. The Maryland Personal Injury Attorneys that'll have your back. If you find yourself in an unfortunate situation, just like I have a couple of times, give our team at MD-CRASH a call right away. We all know the cost of medical bills, lost wages, pain and suffering. It all adds up quickly and potentially can put you in a bad financial place. If you want a team that'll handle your case, big or small, and just give you that peace of mind, save this number now. Like I've told you a million times. 855-MD-CRASH. It's 855-632-7274. Be sure to follow them on Facebook for some fun giveaways. And I did confirm, like I said last week, they are doing giveaways for a Ravens game. So if you're not following them, do it now. Do it now.
Yeah, I saw them doing that giveaway the other day. It was like, all right, let's go.
Right.
Oh, man. So let's talk Flock Nation, right?
Yeah.
You know, we've had a lot going on in this offseason. Been a lot of moves, some good, some bad. And it kind of got me thinking, and apparently got other people thinking too, because we saw Jamison Hensley kind of talk about the draft side of things. He wrote that Rashad Bateman, from the talent that he's seen on the practice field, this kid has the talent to be a, in his words, bona fide number one wide receiver.
That's great and all. I really don't give two shits what Jamison Hensley's approval is. I really don't. But what I do take, some ownership in is Marlon Humphrey. And Marlon Humphrey has been public about what he's seen in Rashad Bateman, and it's all been positive.
I believe Marcus Peters also did, like in one of his interviews, he was asked about Rashad.
Marcus Peters talked about him a little bit as well, but Marlon Humphrey is a guy who doesn't really speak out of turn. He doesn't really talk people up unless there's hype, unless it's real, and it's concrete. And you're talking about a top 5 corner in the league giving praise to a rookie wide receiver. And not just this rookie wide receiver, but this wide receiver core and all the changes that they've made, bringing in a Sammy Watkins. We all know the talent that he has and the ability that he has. The question has always been the health, right?
Yeah.
But what they've seen out of him so far in camp, obviously, again, what they're seeing out of Rashad Bateman, Tylan Wallace, and some of the development with these guys.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard a lot from Sammy Watkins, and he looks like he's going to be a great fit for this team in his style of play. And then Watkins was another guy giving Rashad Bateman a lot of credit and being able to go up there and get the ball when he's asked to, running clean routes, that type of stuff. So he sees him, and he sees this kid as I like it because you know how I am on mentorship, right?
Yeah.
And tutelage. I kind of look at the way that I'm hearing Sammy talk about him. It's kind of like Sammy can help guide him, right, on the little bit of stuff that he needs. Not that Sammy, like we talked about, Sammy was never a true number one wide receiver. That was never the case.
Right.
But he is a successful wide receiver in the NFL.
Yeah.
And so anything that he can help to provide this kid to help take him to the next level sooner, faster, however you want to do it, I am all for it, and it seems to be translating. I think the other thing that comes into play here is what did they do in this offseason prior to the players? They went and got the coaching staff.
Yep.
That's a big part to this, is that you have coaching staff that knows what the hell they're doing with these wide receivers, how to get them to be open, and working on that chemistry with Lamar. And from what we're hearing, it's kind of across the board. It's not just Sammy and Rashad. It is that entire core.
Yeah. And I don't know if you guys noticed or not, everybody wanted to give shit to Lamar and to the Ravens social media team with that one pass The one pass Lamar had to Sammy Watkins that the Ravens' most social media team should have never put out there, but they did, as it was terrible. Well, they followed that up with an epic video.
A montage of throws.
Yes, montage of throws that all just seem to have a familiar tight spiral to them.
Can I say they did not let anyone film his throws for about a month and then put together 30 throws over that month for a montage.
It wasn't a month. They haven't been practicing for a month.
It was like a week and a half.
Like, nobody show his throws, and then we'll pick out the good ones.
But again, the reason behind the whole video silence per se was more so to prevent schemes and route combinations from being out there. If you notice, like the video is chopped up in a way that literally you just see
You're seeing
Lamar
the
throw the ball
and
and the catch. You're not seeing everything that happens in between. So good job to Ravens social media for a bounce back there.
Yeah. Speaking of Lamar and that whole situation, I did want to bring up something that I thought was an interesting take and did make me kind of scratch my head at the article a little bit, but it was a thought provoker.
Okay.
So from ESPN, Bill Barnwell wrote about the Ravens' biggest vulnerability. Can you guess what? Did you see this article?
No.
Can you guess what he said it was in his eyes?
The biggest vulnerability?
Yeah.
Pass rush.
Nope.
Okay.
Backup QB.
What?
Backup QB.
We have two of those, I thought.
Yeah.
Which is why I was scratching my head, because he said that you have Trace and you have Tyler Huntley, but now you have game tape out on both those guys.
How much?
You can't game tape Huntley's speed.
I don't think you can either.
You could got a real good shot of Trace McSorley going down with a knee injury. You got a great shot of that.
but I
Lamar
guess
coming off the pooper.
right, with a cramp. I just thought it was interesting because I was like, okay, yes, we know that pass rush is a big question mark.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, there's still question marks on the offensive line because we haven't seen these guys go up against anybody, right?
Fair.
I don't know that backup QB. That's why I'm saying it was interesting to get your takes. You guys had the same reaction I was. Backup QB, right? I think what his point was he wrote about last year you had RG3.
Who was worse than
But at the same time, that's what I was
that
like.
was going to be my
well,
point.
wait a second. But I think his piece was the experience for an extended period of time because Tyler and Trace both have not been in for an extended period of time. They've been in for a short amount of time, end of game, wherever they need to come in until Trace gets hurt. Neither of them, nobody has experience in playing a whole game as a starter if needed.
So I get the idea behind RG3 having the experience. Obviously, at one point for a couple years before the Nada, injury and the sack that busted his knees up, he was a good quarterback. But ever since then, he hasn't been much of anything. And that's why he doesn't have a job right now. That's why he's looking at.
He only had a job as a basically another coach for Lamar.
Right, and that's my thing is that he was brought in for that purpose, right? To be that mentor.
He served it,
learn from me and the mistakes that I made and don't make those same mistakes. He served Hold on, guys. Sorry, we're just trying to get this
Looks like we're
fixed
back.
for you guys.
We're back live. Look
Are
how
we
pretty
back
I
live?
am.
I don't know what the fuck happened there. Apologize for that, guys. I don't
Sorry,
know what
guys.
happened there.
All right, well, let's recap the question real quick then, since
They were hearing all of it.
They were hearing all. Okay, then go ahead.
Black screens.
Then go ahead.
I don't
Go
know
ahead.
what happened there. All right, go ahead with your take.
All right, so anyway, I think that RG3 was the worst we had on that scenario. Yes, the knowledge base was there. But after Haloti Nada made that hit in his knee that disappeared, he was never the same.
Right.
The only good plays he was involved in the last 3 years were the Heisman package, and it was just because there was too much shit going on to keep track of.
Right.
Whenever he had to actually run this system, it was no good. But yet, I was pretty impressed in the short amount of time we saw Trace McSorley, both in the preseason and he came on the field.
Right.
And then the Tyler Huntley guy, the speed was unreal. You saw Lamar on the sideline, jump up and down. He very well could be the next quarterback that ends up playing out his contract here and then becoming a starter for somebody else.
Okay,
Yeah.
so follow-up question then, right? If you're saying, okay, both of you say Tyler's the way to go, right? Is that
If it comes down to you're only carrying 2 quarterbacks, based on what we've seen so far, and again,
Okay.
this little bit of sample size and when they get to training camp and they get to the preseason, right, will obviously dictate which one makes the roster. But based on what we know right now, I'm going Tyler Huntley.
Okay, so then if you're going Tyler Huntley, are you going to be able to stash Tracy McSorley on the practice squad?
Nope.
You have a better shot with Trace than you do Tyler Huntley, in my opinion. But I think either way, when a team gets desperate, he'll be gone. He might not be gone right away. This might be a week 3, injury situation where the starter gets injured. Now that somebody goes up and now they need another backup, Trace gets plucked. I don't think it'll happen right away. So yeah, the Ravens are going to be rolling the dice no matter who they put on.
I guess
there.
that's the question, right? Is because there was previously thoughts with Trace, right? When he first came up, the thought of them using him in a Taysom Hill type setup, right?
Yeah.
We all said
That's
we
a
didn't think
joke.
it was going to
He
work.
doesn't have that kind of athletic ability.
No, he's the least athletic
now
wrestling quarterback.
Tyler Huntley, maybe.
Nah,
Maybe.
not in a Taysom Hill kind of role. Taysom Hill is built like a fullback, like and a strong
Yes.
running back. Like
But
neither one of these guys are built that way.
So my whole point with that is, does carrying 3 QBs provide you? Are you more so willing to risk one of them going off the practice squad to not have carry 3 QBs, or do you carry 3 QBs and allow one of them to become a trade chip by utilizing them through preseason? Let everybody see what these guys can do, and at some point, somebody goes down. Somebody might come knocking. It may not be for a starter role, but it may be somebody comes knocking for that.
Garnett's point of your what ifs, because that's a big that is a big what if. I don't think the Ravens are going to handicap themselves.
We see a QB go down every single year.
No, I know, but that could happen week 4. It could happen week 5, whatever. You're going to handicap yourself somewhere else on potential, like what if, the potential of a trade. For me, I think the Ravens
But at least you get something out of it.
I think the Ravens value like cornerback depth more.
Fair enough.
Obviously, there's going to be a battle at wide receiver. How many wide receivers do they carry? They're going to have as many bodies out there for a pass rush as they can, because right now they're just so short-handed pass rush, and they're so inexperienced with youth, right?
Yeah.
So there's going to be some other positions I think that are going to take priority for those last couple of bubble spots.
I don't disagree. My whole point in asking the question was there is value in both of your backup QBs, right? And that's where I'm saying, like, I know it's a big what if,
Yeah.
but at the same time, why not get the value out of that guy if he goes somewhere else or someone else needs him?
If somebody comes knocking before you have to solidify your rosters, yeah, you're opening that door.
Yeah.
But if you're going to cut down to 53 and you're going to try to carry 3 quarterbacks on the roster, I don't think that's a smart decision. I don't think the Ravens do it.
Fair enough.
That's just my opinion on it. One of the other articles that was written this week, Jeff Zrebiak, he was talking about the Ravens' best offseason move.
Yes,
right?
I did see this.
And we talked, about the offensive line moves, and his pick was Kevin Zeitler. Zeitler's 31 years old right now, but he brings that veteran presence, that veteran leadership that I think will help with, obviously Bradley Bozeman moving over to center. You've got a lot of things as far as moving pieces on this offensive line, a lot of changes on this offensive line. If, God forbid, Villanueva goes down. Villanueva, the right tackle
Yes.
now, and you have to have a younger guy in there. Having a guy like Zeitler, that veteran presence to kind of lean on and help, I think is a big addition. And Zeitler's still playing at a good level, at a high level.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to get the level that he was at, obviously, when he was younger, and that was kind of his point with it. And I do think it makes a point. It is kind of a good move that helped to shore up that offensive line. I think of any move, if you're talking about just the offensive line, any move on paper, it's the drafting of Cleveland, the way that it's looking. Right, because he makes the biggest impact of anybody on there.
But I think Zeitler helps Ben Cleveland in his development and growth.
And it very well may be. I think you're spot on having that veteran status there. We've never been able to replace Yanda.
That's what I'm saying. And that's a big piece to, you're like you said, never going to be able to replace him, but having that veteran there outside of Ronnie Stanley, because that's really the only vet that they have.
But you also have Villanueva there, who's been in heavy competition, especially he knows those grinded out games between the Steelers and the Ravens. Now he's on the other side of it, right? So I think there's a lot to be said about the offensive line.
So what's you're going Ben Cleveland as the best offensive or offseason move?
So if I'm going best offseason move, I think I lean towards Sammy Watkins. And I say this because of the fact that he takes away an excuse for
Sammy Watkins over Rashad Bateman?
Yeah,
just in a wide receiver core.
Sorry, I'm going just free agency. If you want me to
you
open up
talked
the whole
about
thing-
Ben Cleveland, which is a draft pick.
Okay, so then
That's why I was curious.
I'm changing the rules. What if?
Yeah.
I'll change the rules. All right, so yes, I'll stick with. I'll go with everything. Then yes, it's Rashad Bateman's the biggest pickup.
Yeah, and I agree.
He is the biggest pickup overall. The biggest free agency pickup is Sammy Watkins, right? Like it's 1-2 if you're talking about it.
All right. So I don't agree with that.
All right, James, get him involved.
I do agree. I'll let you go ahead, James. I do agree that Rashad Bateman is the best overall offseason move, best free agency move, in my opinion. I agree with Jeff Sarebek, and I think that's Kevin Zeitler. Go ahead, James.
I think that's the guard that we got from the
Yes.
Giants. Yeah,
Yep.
we needed that.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, and
Sammy,
it allowed us to
I'm
make other
pretty
moves on the offensive line.
I'm pretty sure we'll get probably almost all games out of him compared to Sammy Watkins. We might get like 2. So
I'm hoping the over-under's at least like 9 or 10 games, not 2.
We got 17 this year. He can get healthy again by the end.
I don't know about that. Like Sammy Watkins gets paid just to do nothing.
Yeah. I don't know. Listen, I'm actually kind of excited about this offensive line as a whole. I know there's a lot of changes, there's a lot of moving pieces, but I think the additions, obviously the Ben Cleveland move is going to be huge. I think it's huge in itself, just in size. Moving,
Bradley Bozeman over
center. He seems happy about it, and I think that's just gonna solve a lot of our problems from the last couple of years. And then Zeitler and Villanueva to anchor the right-hand side, I think is good.
So apparently Nick says his Georgia kinfolk are friends with Big Country. Says he's the real deal.
And I don't doubt that one bit, man. He looks the role. Like I said, if anybody can win an award just on looks alone for being ready, it's this dude.
He's gonna be called the Big Hoss.
I'm gonna be a little sad if he's not on the starting line, but he'll be there eventually. So
Yeah,
I just
he'll
have to
get there.
hold my time.
I think I do. I think
He's
he'll
got
win
a
that
pretty damn
position
good
battle
shot,
out.
yeah.
I do. I think he'll win that position battle out. All right, so
Well, we talked about best. What's your worst offseason move? Period.
my worst offseason move.
Ravens' worst offseason move.
Oh God, don't do it. It better not be that first round pick. Let's hold hope.
No, I'm not going there. Man, if I had to pick the worst, what's yours? Give me yours.
Mine was getting rid of Orlando.
Okay.
He was gonna play for us.
See, yeah, he wasn't coming back, so I don't really consider that a move per se. And I like the fact that we got the draft pick that we got for him and the compensation that we got for him. That was inevitable, so I don't consider.
You
that
did, but you put greater question marks on that line. I understand you brought in Villanueva, but Villanueva is up in age.
Can I
What,
tell
30?
you my worst?
Yeah,
35. Good.
My worst would be trying to sign Shustu.
Juju.
Yes.
Juju.
The amount
Okay.
of money we offered.
So
Yeah.
yes,
That's my
I
worst.
think that
Thank God.
situation. That's kind of where I was going. I think that situation, that desperation situation of trying to sign T.Y. Hilton, trying to sign Juju Smith-Schuster, and then ending up with Sammy Watkins. I have the most hope for Sammy Watkins. I hope that he fits well into this offense. I hope he does big things. I hope he stays healthy and he earns himself a big payday elsewhere. But it's a big roll of the dice because he hasn't been able to prove that. He's only done it once in his career where he's played 16 games.
Okay.
At work, they would call it a near-miss event. We almost had the worst move.
Right. Well, who's not going to be missing soon and who's not going to be hurting for money soon? Lamar Jackson, right? We've all been kind of anticipating this contract extension that they've been talking about. You've heard Harbaugh talk about it. You've heard DeCosta talk about it. You've even heard Lamar talk about it. Hasn't happened yet. Everybody has kind of said it's inevitable. It's been positive. It's just a matter of when, not if. What's your take on the contract situation?
Well, we heard from Mike Florio this week from Pro Football Talk. He said that the negotiations they're saying are going smoothly. He talked with Harbaugh, and he said Coach Harbaugh said the deal will get done, and it surely will. While the jury may be out on the first-round quarterbacks from the class of 2018, more on that in a separate item is what he was saying in his article. The Ravens have decided that they want Lamar to play the position for years to come. Once decision gets made, everything else is just details. Yeah. And it sounds like we're getting closer to that. Like, it is literally just them working out the details at this point.
Yeah.
It's obviously details, meaning it could be the big details or little details, right? Right. How much are you getting every year? What type of contract are we looking at? That type of thing. And he has said on many occasions he wants to be here.
Right.
Right? He wants to live up to what he said when he was drafted and get this team a Super Bowl. And he wants to be, he said it, he wants to be the Tom Brady of Baltimore, which I feel like he should have said, I want to be the Ray Lewis of Baltimore, meaning like you're the staple.
Right.
But I get what he was saying. He was comparing to another quarterback, and it made sense.
Well, the other part of this contract negotiation that's kind of been out there that people haven't really understood what's going on is Lamar being represented by his mother? Is Lamar representing himself? Does he have an agent? Well, we've gotten a little bit more clarity over the last few days that he doesn't have necessarily the prototypical NFL player's agent, but he does have advisors working on this deal for him. His mother is not as involved. Obviously, his mother's going to be in his ear. It's his mother, right? But his mother is not as involved as some people might have thought. She's not the one doing the contract negotiations or anything. No. He does have a team of advisors. They have been unnamed. So there are other people working this deal outside of just Lamar doing it by himself.
And I think obviously he'd rather pay a few people a little bit of money than have an agent take a large chunk out of it as well.
Yeah.
But I think Lamar, from what we've heard, and especially with the draft, I think what we look at and we don't understand with him is he seems to have a circle.
Yeah.
Right? We see him with the same people. Kodak Black, we see him with his teammates.
That was a bad example.
Well, did you? So I get that, but did you see what Kodak Black did this past week?
Yeah,
throwing money in the ocean?
Yeah, he made up he gave away air conditioners.
He went down into a housing project.
So
him and Lamar were giving away air conditioners right after he threw $100,000 into the ocean.
That's PR number one. So you got bad PR, so we had to go out and give away air conditioners.
Either way, but he's got a circle, right, of people that he trusts.
Yeah.
And I think that's what he's looking at. Maybe one of these people that's on this advisory board winds up giving him some really great advice, and he says, you know what, down the road, I want you to be my agent. But I think right now he's just saying, like, okay, let me listen to all of you and, not hear your pitches, but what's your take on the situation? What's your take?
Yeah.
And he's going to go with who he feels like. And if it pans out, then he kind of goes back to that person and says, you know what? Out of everybody that told me things, I listened to you because I thought it was the best advice. And look, it wound up paying off for me in the short term and the long term. So maybe, why don't you want to become... we don't know the conversations that are being had. We don't know any of that. But it's just interesting because you don't hear this in the NFL or really in pro sports at all, where it's in it almost like it sounds like it's an advisory board, right? That comes through and helps him out rather than an agent.
Yeah, I mean, Lamar probably thought that he could do this on his own, bit off more than he could chew, realized it was a lot tougher than it was. He hired some advisors that maybe aren't going to cost him quite as much as an NFL Players Association, because we've talked about this. I mean, Lamar's about his money, whether you like that or not. Lamar worries about his bottom dollar first. It's why he's done the whole merch thing his way. It's why he does the agent thing his way. He's not paying people to do these things for him. He does it himself.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? There's been other people that have started brands. One is very good, is Jordan. But whatever. There's ways to be able to do this, and it'll get done.
Right.
It's just a matter of whether this happens prior to the season starting or does it happen at the end of the season.
Yeah, I think a lot of what's going to happen, like what may come out of this is if it doesn't happen before the beginning of the season, then it's going to be part of, okay, where does this season end, right?
My
is what
thing
people are
with this,
thinking.
my only hope with this contract situation is obviously, yes, number one, I wanted to get done. But number two is I want it to happen before Josh Allen gets paid. Because I believe that Josh Allen will get north of $40 million just based off of the market right now for quarterbacks, the numbers that he put up last year, the growth that he showed from one year to the next, right? And we've seen it. Every time a quarterback gets paid, the next one to get paid gets paid more, right? So if the Ravens are smart and they're trying to save themselves a few dollars here and there over the course of this contract, they should get this done before Josh Allen signs.
Well, you have Allen that hasn't signed. You have Baker Mayfield that hasn't signed yet.
I'm not worried about Baker Mayfield.
I'm not worried about Baker, but Baker, whatever money Baker gets, it could potentially drive up the price of Lamar, right?
Maybe.
If you're thinking, like, and I'm just throwing spitballing, right? If I say that Lamar is 60% greater, and I'm just throwing numbers out here, right? 60% better than Baker. Well, if Baker gets this number, then does Lamar get 60% more, right?
Right.
That's kind of like my thought process, and there's no way of doing that type of stuff, but it's there.
Adit brings up a point that we've talked a little bit about on the air that somebody else had brought us up to us at one point. He says, chances Lamar signs an extension that pays him a fixed percentage of the cap, example, 20% annually for 4 to 5 years, so it fluctuates. I would love to see contracts be written that way. We haven't seen it yet. Or at least none that I'm aware of, but I think that that's a smarter, in my opinion, a smarter way to go about the business because, one, it protects the player because their contract can grow, but two, you budget yourself knowing every year that your quarterback's going to count 20% of your cap number.
Well, and the other thing is something like that too, right? Think about that if you want to get an extension out, right? If you throw an extension out and you say, okay, we're gonna do this extension, we're gonna go long term, and you pay a guy past when he's actually playing, you're deferring money. You can work on that and say, okay, we're gonna defer a certain percentage. So it's a certain percentage of the cap at that point. So it actually winds up benefiting Lamar, and for them, it could benefit them in the long run as well. If the cap winds up falling again, because then they have to pay that guy less if the cap winds up going down again.
I personally, I really like the idea. I like the structure of it. There's a reason it hasn't happened yet. There might be some lingo written into some rule somewhere with contracting that doesn't allow them to do it that way, but I don't know that for sure.
Lamar hasn't done anything normal so far.
No, that's true. But speaking of Lamar, right, and this is one of the things I got on Twitter today.
You just get off Twitter.
I know, and I think I am for a few weeks here. I'm going to take a break from social media. Take a hiatus. But one of the things that it's been the narrative with Lamar and with this team really since Lamar took over in 2018, right? Remember, he has only been in the league now for 2.5 years. Feels like he's been in there for longer than that, but he's only played 2.5
at a high level,
2.5 full seasons, right? The expectations with fans around Lamar and this team in general seems to me, based on what I see, to be measured in Super Bowls. Like it's every year it's Super Bowl or disappointment. And I don't know how any fan base can expect that kind of expectation other than maybe the Patriots because they did it for 10 straight years or however long they did it, right? I just think that people need to temper the expectations. Is the goal every year to be in a Super Bowl? 100%. There's no other reason to play the game. The goal is to be in the Super Bowl, but the expectation from fans, in my opinion, should not be Super Bowl or bust every year.
So I agree and I disagree, right? The goal should be not to be in the Super Bowl yet. The goal every year should be to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Right,
yeah,
right. And so that's what fans see. And fans also are looking at it and they see the talent on the team, right? They see the past performance. We are spoiled. But on the flip side of that, one of the things that I think part of what comes with this territory is the fact that when you have a team that's this competitive, when you need to make adjustments, when you're going to pay somebody, you forget to look around the league. Meaning, Ravens fans are horrible, absolutely horrible Ravens flock for looking around the league to see what else is there. Because let's look around the league right now.
Okay.
Super Bowl champs.
Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay didn't change their squad much.
Right.
Could make another run. Bills making some moves, making some splashes last year, coming up the rankings, looking good, looking better.
But they didn't get to a Super Bowl.
I understand that.
I'm just setting the expectation. Yeah. They didn't get to a Super Bowl.
Chiefs did get to the Super Bowl. Lost it. Fixed what the quote problems were, or at least they hope they did, right? Because what did they do? They addressed protecting Patrick Mahomes. So those two teams right there are already top contenders. Tennessee, past few years, have gotten to the playoffs, right? You get to all these things, and it's any given Sunday, right? We can lose. We could absolutely shit the bed against the if we play the Jaguars. Jaguars make everybody look great, and they're losing, and we go up against one year, and all of a sudden we look like shit.
Okay.
Remember London? Yeah. My whole point is, look around the league as a fan. I understand that there's a lot to be excited about on paper. And I think this is kind of what you're saying. But we got to chill a little bit and actually look at the full freaking picture.
My issue is, again, the expectation bar being so high year in and year out. Take a trip. I just told you, Lamar Jackson's been a starting quarterback for 2.5 years. Let's go back 2.5 years ago, right before Lamar took over. This organization and this team was below 500, not making a playoff run at all.
Right.
Lamar Jackson came in and single-handedly changed everything in an offense that wasn't built for him. Not yet. It wasn't built for him. The play calling, all of that wasn't built for him. And he single-handedly willed this team to a playoff. Now, it didn't go long. He was in the playoffs one round, and he lost, right? But they got to the playoffs. They were not sniffing the playoffs that year. What's he doing his first full season? An MVP season, right?
Agreed.
Gets to the playoffs in the first round, they're out. But 14-2 regular season, right? So the narrative last year was he's got to win a playoff game. And what does he do this past year?
He progresses.
He gets to the playoffs. He wins his first playoff game. But even that doesn't satisfy fans. I don't know if it's a Lamar.
This isn't the Lamar Jacksons, though. This is the Ravens.
But my thing is, I don't know if this is a Lamar thing or if this is a Ravens thing with fan expectations. Because to me, it seems directed at Lamar. Personally, what I see on Facebook and what I see on Twitter, it seems more directed at Lamar.
Put that Garnett comment back up here for a second.
Our fan base.
Yeah. So the piece that he said was actually spot on just a second ago. He said the biggest issue is that our fan bases always say he is better than Patrick Mahomes, and the opposite fan base will always bring up Super Bowls.
I agree with that.
That is part of the problem. When you look at a guy like a Pat Mahomes who comes in, there's a lot of similarities, but there's a lot of differences that people aren't looking at. What they're looking at is they see this great quarterback that led his team at a young age to a Super Bowl. They want the same thing out of Lamar. But what they're not taking a step back and looking at is Patrick Mahomes had everything in front of him to be successful. He had a successful coach running a successful scheme. He had the fastest player in the NFL. He had they had their running backs the first year, the one year they won the Super Bowl, they had a solid running back core. They were able to run the ball.
Right.
Last year, not so much. Right? There's a lot of different things. There's pieces that are coming into play year over year over year that make you better.
And that's my point. My point in this entire thing was enjoy the progression of things. Every year, this team has improved. They went from not being in the playoff contention to making the playoffs in his first half a season to an MVP in a playoff performance in his second season to a first round win and then a second round loss in his third season, his second and a half season.
And to kind of back that this is a fan thing, right?
It's progression.
For anybody that wants to say, oh, it's not a fan thing. Anybody remember Joe Flacco? Even when he was doing well, it was never good enough. One of the only quarterbacks to beat Tom Brady in Foxborough multiple times.
Yeah.
In the playoffs. Come on. Like it is a fan base thing. We do this every time we get a big name player or a big person. It has to be a certain way. It has to be the boom or bust, and it's not.
I understand also because a lot of people I was getting in the debates with back and forth. I understand the statistics of what Lamar's numbers look like in a regular season versus what Lamar's numbers look like in the playoffs, and it's a large disparity.
It's a team.
And that's part of my point is that it's a team thing, but when you get to the playoffs, you're also playing the best of the best, right? When you're playing the regular season, yeah, you play the best of the best a couple times throughout the year, but you've got a lot of cupcakes in between there, or games that are a lot easier than when you get to the playoffs.
But you also have those situations, like Mark Andrews, great all year, struggled in the playoff game. Right. There are other factors other than Lamar. Lamar can hit him in his hands, but if he doesn't catch it, that's not on Lamar.
Yeah.
Chill the hell out. There are so many factors. You could look at play calling. You could look at scheming. You could look at preparation. You could look at the package that's put in. There are so many different things that you can look at and point at. That's why we lost the game. The answer is not Lamar lost us that game. Never has been. Never in all reality for the most part. Never was Joe Flacco either. But no.
There were sometimes, but yeah, I get you. I understand what your point is.
When you have a new coordinator every year, what are you going to do?
I get that. Go ahead, Ryan.
Well, I think that, yes, our fan base is a little unreasonable compared to most fan bases.
Very unreasonable.
But you also have to look, especially when you're talking Twitter and social media, Lamar's a whole different animal. His following, both positive and negative, is way bigger than football. There is a huge racial following behind Lamar where you're going to have people that are just trying to poke holes in him, being never going to be able to quarterback, never going to be my statuesque stand behind the quarterback
Pocket
that are going to
passer.
attack him no matter what. And then on the other side, on his super fanboy, I never watched football in my whole life until Lamar became a quarterback, and now all my feelings, he's representing me, and I want him to be the greatest quarterback in the world. They support him all year, but when he fails, all that crazy positivity becomes crazy negativity. So when you're talking those, like, you can't let that get to you, because Lamar knows the realities of this, and it just is what it is. There are people polarized in both directions, and even the ones supporting him will attack him when it fails.
No, and I agree with that. It's just disappointing. Like I said, when you look at just the raw numbers of things, right? There are still 12 organizations. There are 32 teams in the NFL, right?
Yeah.
There are still 12 organizations that have never even won one Super Bowl ever in their history.
Detroit.
12, right?
Yeah.
And yet the expectation with this team is to constantly, it's Super Bowl or bust. And that's it's just, for me, yes, is it disappointing because I'm a fan at the end of the year when they don't get to the Super Bowl and they don't win? Yes, of course. You want them to win every year, but that's unrealistic and that shouldn't be the expectation.
I got a question for you on QBs here in a second, but I wanted to get James' take. James, what is your take on this whole situation? Is it a fan base issue, or is it a team or Lamar issue?
It's about both. Like Fred said, people are just spoiled because we have never really had a losing season. We have never had a high draft pick. We always are like in the middle or towards the bottom, which I'm fine with. Like, it makes me appreciate what we have, and I don't complain. I love our Ravens. I love what they do. I trust everything that goes behind.
Except for John Harbaugh.
Except John Harbaugh.
I could get him started.
We're going to leave that alone. But, like, other teams would love to have what we have. And we discuss this all the time. Like, some teams would love to have, like, Detroit. They would just love to win, like, 7 games.
Right. And I bet James does not post on Twitter very much.
But here's my thing. Going back to the racial part of this, Ryan, and this is a question I have, right? So Aaron Rodgers is often talked about as one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. He's often talked about as if almost on like a god level.
Last year's MVP,
right?
He's playing a match right now.
He's won 1 Super Bowl. 1. He's 37 years old. Okay? Lamar's 24. And he's been on the doorstep in these playoffs all 3 years. He's in the playoffs all 3 years. He's got 13 years behind Aaron Rodgers right now. My question is, and this is where the racial part of it comes in, if Lamar gets over the hump and wins a Super Bowl in the next 13 years, which I believe he will, and hopefully it's next year, is he talked about like Aaron Rodgers? Or is it, he's got to win multiple? Does this just continue to go down that rabbit hole?
No, I think it's.
And
I think
football one is good.
Yeah, I think when you look at it, it's. I get what you're saying, but I think if he wins one, he's starting to be in that conversation. You're hearing that conversation with Pat Mahomes, right? And is there partially a racial thing behind Pat Mahomes? Yeah, a little bit, but I think it's also the fan base. I really think it's the fan base. The fan base,
but it's not even just the fan base, because there's a lot of media pundits nationally that harp on Lamar and harp on his style of offense and its ability to be successful long term.
And that's another factor that you want to talk. If you're going to talk about Aaron Rodgers, you're going to talk about the fact that it's a different style game, right? He's playing a different style.
At the end of the day, though, the success is measured off of Super Bowls, is what everybody says. He's got one.
Name a mobile quarterback like Lamar that has won a Super Bowl.
Russell Wilson.
Yeah, but my point is
Russell Wilson wasn't mobile in that year.
So
he was more of
Steve Young.
So I had to
mobile.
do some investigation here just to double check myself. So Aaron Rodgers on Instagram has 1.6 million followers. He's a very famous person. We've heard his name on the news way more than Lamar.
Who is this?
Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers, yeah, I get you.
Way more than Lamar all offseason because of his holdout. He's linked to Jeopardy and all these
playing
things.
golf right now.
Playing golf right now on the match. He's very popular even outside of football. Lamar Jackson has 2.8 million, 1.2 million more followers without hearing his name anywhere other than football. The man is an icon without his choosing. Like, he was birthed into this iconship because they wanted to say he can't play quarterback. And everyone that identified with him, everyone that felt like somebody told me I couldn't do something that I knew I could do, everyone that looks like him, everyone that talks like him, he's their god. He's Scott's Tebow for a 1.2 million people.
Right.
Like, those numbers don't. It's that's what it is. That's why it's so much bigger. He is bigger than football, and that's why you're gonna get the crazies. Dude, I know crazy. I work with it all the time. There's a lot of crazies out here. And when you drape yourself in Lamar, you can walk through Baltimore City streets and see people any day of the week decked out in Lamar shirts and Lamar head tans and Lamar this, and we got the greatest quarterback on the planet. Because that's all they're holding on to. That's the hope they got. And so when he even loses an AFC championship, he didn't make my February happy, and they fall apart.
Yeah,
it's just what he was given.
Hold on, I'm going to ask you directly again because you didn't answer my question. All your points are valid. Aaron Rodgers has won one Super Bowl, and he's talked about as a god as far as a quarterback.
He's considered a GOAT,
regardless of all the other things that he does.
Okay.
Just talking about football.
I remember the question now.
He's considered a god. If Lamar wins a Super Bowl in the next 8 years, right? He's still quite a bit behind. He's 13 years behind Aaron Rodgers. If he wins one in the next 8 years, is he then talked about on that Aaron Rodgers kind of level?
By actual logical football fans, yes. The problem is that 1.2 million still exist. And therefore, the racist motherfuckers are still going to say somebody else won that Super Bowl. And this is why we won Super Bowl. And somebody got injured on the other team and this and the other. And then
excuses.
And the people that love him are still going to fall apart when he doesn't win the next one. He has a following that isn't a football following. And those people are never going to be satisfied unless he wins every Super Bowl till he retires.
Well, when he was up for the MVP candidate, like he had the #1 selling jersey that year.
Right.
People love him.
I think he had the #1 selling jersey as soon as he got drafted.
Well, I'm hoping we put an end to this narrative really quickly, and the Ravens win the Super Bowl this year.
It's not going to end anything.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd love to see what the narrative will be next year.
The comparison is the guy that just announced that he was gay for the Raiders.
Right.
That man now represents way more than Raiders fans. He was a nobody player.
He probably has 10 million followers now.
Yeah, it was the best jersey sale of the month, and he probably has a ridiculous number of followers because every gay person across America was proud of him and supportive of him, and they're allies with him. So he's bigger than football. Lamar was gifted that just because some pundit said he shouldn't be a quarterback and he needs to play wide receiver.
That's a good sign off there, Ryan. All right, Ryan, it's time for a social media shout out. Who's been out in the chat room and who's saying what?
I got Steph Summers, Buffalo Chuck, Steph Hemling, sharing Sherry, Drew, Nick Short, Garnett, Joe C. I mean, on the comments, we've got a lot of people arguing back and forth because we've had a lot of topical things going on. Some people saying that we're more logical than the Steelers, which I don't know if that's true. And they have a much more historic number of things. They've had a big head start on us for that.
Right.
I don't have any really specific comments here. I think we've posted.
Travis says, "What's
ones.
up?" He just joined too.
All right,
Appreciate it,
welcome in,
Travis.
Travis.
All right. All right, Scott, it's time for some bros, bows, and O's.
All
As
right.
we get closer here to the All-Star break.
Yeah,
A few days away.
Next week, next
Yeah.
Tuesday,
Yeah.
right? 7:30,
Right.
Eastern Standard Time. We might need to look at changing next week.
We
We'll
might have
see.
to delay next week. We'll see.
But no, so the Orioles, as of today, 27-57. Nothing changed much. 21 games behind the AL
Solid
East.
grip on last place.
21 games behind in the AL, second to last against Arizona. It is the race for last place. As they, I think Arizona has 23 wins. So they still got us by 4 for that top pick. But this year's draft is also going to be coming up. It's exciting because you get the draft now mixed with the All-Star game. Right. So we're going to see really a lot happen next week between the home run derby, some of the draft picks. There's a lot of different pundits out there that are saying the Orioles could wind up taking another catcher in this draft, which is a lot of people are questioning. Why would you do that when you have Adley out there? It's because you never know what's going to happen. You need to have depth in your system, right? And having depth with a guy like that, if Adley were to go down, have struggles, whatever it may be, you've got a backup plan long term as well that you can do, as well as a trade chip down the road if you're one piece away.
There's that, but it's what I've also talked about in previous weeks is that Adley's bat is so good, and traditionally catchers break down earlier. They might want to extend his career at another position, a la first base,
DH,
which he's played a little bit, DH being an American League team, maybe a corner outfield spot. Adley Rutschman's a super athletic guy. He's got a strong arm. There's a lot of positions that he could play. So I think if the bat translates to major league level like we expect it to be, then drafting another catcher to replace him when he does transition to another position is a smart move for the Orioles. If he is the best player on the board as a catcher, I have no problem with them taking him.
There's arguments of catcher. There's arguments of some of the middle infielders that are in the draft. There are some statements of people saying, you ought to be taking a good look at these two Vanderbilt pitchers. If they decide that they're gonna, go our route, you might be able to get one of them cheap because I believe one's a senior and the other one's a junior, I believe, if I remember correctly.
Great. Go ahead, Ryan.
I have a question for two catchers. Between two catchers here. So is there any precedence or could you see it possible where if we did get another catcher that could be the everyday catcher, that Adley could be that backup catcher, the one for the day game behind the night game?
There could be some rotation like that. Yeah.
I just didn't know if it was too much of a specialty where you would need to practice so much of it you couldn't do that.
I think obviously that Adley, if they were going to move him out of catcher, primarily, he would probably go to first base and then maybe rotate in as a catcher, like you're saying, to give the guy a break.
I just didn't know if he needed so much practice.
That doesn't typically happen.
But see, that's also what he's referencing is something like that would happen later in his career.
Yeah.
I'm not pulling Adley Rutschman in his first 2 years to be a full-time DH or to be unless something happens.
But I'll be the
I'm
first
not doing
one to
that.
Well, the other thing with this catcher that they're talking about, I believe he's a high school prospect, so he's still got years to develop.
Correct. Yeah.
Behind Adley, so you'll have a much bigger sample size of what Adley looks like. One as a defensive catcher, two as a hitter at the major league level. By the time that kid is ready to actually make an impact,
I guess my thing too is we've talked about this. Even if a guy's defense starts to fall off a little bit, if he can call a game well. There's a lot of value in that, right? Look at Matt Wieters. Matt Wieters, towards his last year or two in Baltimore, had a struggle where he had a few pass balls, right? Because his body was getting up there. It had taken a lot of beatings, and so therefore he wound up having some pass balls. Why did they not pull him out? Why is he still catching? because the man knows what pitch to call and doesn't have to
Staff is
look
comfortable with him.
Yeah, he doesn't have to look into the dugout to go, all right, what pitch are we going here, guys? He studied film, right? It's that
Right.
guys like Mauer, Pudge Rodriguez, Yadier Molina, Adley Rutschman has the potential, right? He's been talked up so much, but he's got a lot of potential to be a guy like that, to be a guy that's great with the bat, that's an excellent, above
Right.
average defensive catcher, and a guy that can call a game. It's a different thing to call a game, and
I don't disagree with anything that you said, but my point is that most catchers, their bodies break down early. There's very few exceptions. Pudge Rodriguez, Mike Piazza,
Yachty.
that played long careers as catchers and stayed at the catcher position. Mauer was another one that they ended up moving out because of his bat. I personally think long term that that's probably the path that Adley will go, even if he's a great catcher at the major league level. We already see
been
it.
saying that forever.
Yeah.
I'll be the first one to confirm. Like, he even said this when we were at the game the other day, when we were at Bowie. Like,
Yeah.
he's always said eventually this will be a first baseman DH.
Yeah,
right. But it's, I mean, ideally it's years down the road, because when
what's
you look
Adley
at his
now at this point, 23,
Probably, because he was a college
he
player.
was in college, so I think he's 23.
23, maybe 24. High school kid right now, 17, 18. So there's a 6-year gap between them. So from the time Adley makes it to the majors to the time this kid's ready, he's going to be 6 years into his professional career if all things go the way that they should go. So at that point, I think it'd be a smart move for the Orioles to potentially move Adley out of the everyday starting catcher and going into a role like Ryan's even presenting, maybe a rotational Sunday.
I was making sure we're like, we're not talking about in his first like 2-3 years doing this shit. Like, no, not gonna happen. Like, he needs to get out of his rookie contract before that's even a thought on the table, as far as I'm concerned, with what he brings to this game each and every week. So I don't think that's there. I did want to talk about this as a point of note for the Orioles, because I looked this up and it caught my eye on MLB.com when I was kind of looking at stats. And a little over a month ago, do you remember what we talked about with run differential and where we stood?
really bad.
Yeah, really bad.
Minus 60. We're at minus 114 now.
Wow, that's awesome.
Hey, Ryan, that's not good.
That's not good.
No.
That's like my golf score.
Yeah. Well, let's just put it in perspective. I think the Red Sox are plus like 60-something.
6 plus 63, which is about where they were. They haven't changed much.
I don't math real good, but that's like a difference of 170 runs.
Yeah.
That's more than my golf score.
Almost going 180.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's bad.
Yeah, that was almost double Ryan's golf score. It's absolutely horrible, and I think it just shows you. It's really what I started to look at, and I started to question: is it inconsistencies on both sides? And I started to find it, yes and no. Right, the pitching is just it's just gone downhill on almost all fronts. Right, bullpen, starting pitching, like I don't even know that we have starting pitching anymore at this point. Jorge Lopez can't get past the 5th inning again all of a sudden.
Right.
I just there's a lot to be said, but then the run side of things is what hurts too, because there's been times where we're scoring 1-2 runs, and then the next night we're putting up 6, 7, 8 runs, and it's like, where the hell was this last night?
Our hitting is so dependent on our top 4 hitters. That's the problem. It's not that they don't have talent at the major league level. They do, but it stops after number 4. The rotation of players that they have, 5 through 9, is off.
Did Mullins, Mancini, or Mountcastle hit a home run? Okay, then
they're going to lose.
We scored 4 or more runs. If they didn't hit a home run, we scored less than 4 runs.
And that's my point. It's on both sides. It's the pitching and it's the hitting. Whereas in the past, our bats have always kept us around.
Yeah.
Even last year, through the COVID season where we were talking about potentially making a playoff run, it wasn't because our pitching was outstanding. It was because our bats kept us in
I was
it.
just about to choke on my beer when you said that. I'm glad you clarified it wasn't because. Yeah, no, it wasn't. But I did want to talk because one guy that we mentioned, right? Seti.
Yeah.
Your son.
My boy.
He got officially named an All-Star, and then he has a 450-foot home run.
And you wanted to let him go. I'm just saying, Scott. You wanted to let him
The
go.
way he played, I said he needed to go back down. I did not say he needed to be gone from the team. Let's clarify.
Shit on his son.
Let's clarify that.
All right.
But no, thoughts on him being a reserve instead of a starter here?
I mean, it's It's a popularity contest. We've already talked about that. He
But
won.
the starter's chosen by the manager.
Yeah, but didn't he win the player vote? Didn't he get the most votes by the players for an outfielder?
Who?
This is my point. He got a starter snub.
Mullins. I'm pretty sure he did.
I don't think so.
No, I think he did by the players.
By the players. By the players.
fans.
The players looked at everybody and said he deserves to be here.
Right. So my point is, I really don't care about the starting thing. Should he be a starter? 100%. It should be the best players, not by popularity, that are out there. The top starting 9, and he is 100% in the top starting 9.
Right.
One of the top 3 outfielders.
And I think
this year.
Drew sent us the piece yesterday on the fact that when it comes to him, like some people were questioning, like going back and forth, and you hate some of the people on Twitter and why you're taking a hiatus from Twitter,
Yeah.
but. People were chiming in going, oh, well, his numbers aren't good here because this guy's leading RBIs. Okay, great. Cedric Mullins is leading all outfielders in MLB in like 5 categories.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That should be. This is what I was saying before.
He's got over 100 hits at this point.
This is what he's leading the league in. His OPS is higher than the other guy's average. One of the starters' average,
Right?
And I think his average is higher than the guy's average too. There's so many different things here. I feel like if you're leading in more than 2 categories in all of MLB or even in your league,
Right.
you should automatically be considered for a starter. If there's 3 guys that each have 2 and everybody else, and there's 2 other guys that lead in 1 category, guess who your 3 starters are?
Yeah.
The 3 guys leading in 2 categories apiece.
question.
Go ahead, James.
Besides Ryan, because he's not going to. Can you guys name 5 outstanding outfielders that are actually not on the IR or the IL?
No, that's my point, is that he is 100%.
I certainly cannot.
No matter how you draw it up.
I think the talent is so bad out in the outfield. It's like it's
Because
hurting.
of injuries right now. Right. I mean, there's a lot. Don't get me wrong. There are a lot of very talented outfielders that have put up good stats this year.
Yeah, but not like in the past where you're
but
like
not like in the
naming
past.
off
Right.
Ichiro
Your
and
name.
Torii Hunter and
Right.
Kenny Loftons and stuff like that. It's bad right now.
Yeah, I agree with that. And Cedric Mullins is, he's the cream of the crop in my opinion.
He
It's
is.
not me being a
No,
homer. Just look at the stats. Look at what he's done consistently through
And
the entire front half.
that was my question. Are those fans that are getting upset? Are we looking at this?
If anybody's getting upset, they're not worried.
No,
about fans.
I think if for me, I'm upset because the All-Star game is exactly supposed to be that. It's the All-Stars of the game. It's your top players of the game. And if you're going to say
MLB wants.
But here's the deal.
names.
Here's the deal. In previous years, we've seen it happen that guys who make the roster
I understand.
as fielders don't ever see the freaking field during an All-Star game.
No, I understand. But if MLB wants to change how baseball is, they will stop letting the fans vote in and let them put these young stars in there so the fans can see them.
If you want to do it that way, have two guys that aren't voted on by players and managers and owners, and if you want to say GMs, everybody in organizations, let the organizations vote on
The
it.
fans should only allow the vote maybe 4 players, like the
one or 2
DL
for each league.
or
Exactly.
and
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the World Series quote unquote home team is still decided by the winner of the All-Star
I think they
game.
nixed
No,
that.
they
I think they
changed
nixed that.
It's
Did
the
they
best
change that?
record.
Okay.
It's the best
Yeah.
record.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it's
It's
one
a
of those things.
cash cow, though. Like,
No, they want names. MLB
What's
wants
a cash
names,
cow?
and they're ruining it. They're ruining these young talents that are coming out, like the Cedric Mullins, so he can get voted in, not by, he's having a great year. You need these guys that are like diamonds in the rough to be there because they deserve it. The MLB should step in and say, hey, we love the fans, but the fans are only voting 4 for each side.
You let the writers vote on Hall of
And
Fame.
then
Why not let the writers
let
vote?
MLB
this is exactly why,
do it.
because of the cash cow. So how, Fred, you're in sales, how is internet sales determined?
How are internet sales determined?
Yeah, like number of clicks, right? Number
Yeah.
of entries into that website. How do we let these people vote? You get to vote as many times as you want.
You're allowed
5
500.
times a day.
But 5 times a day for each player. And then we reset it and have you all vote again.
Right.
99% of the MLB.com's web traffic is in this 1 month.
Right.
And then they're able to show their stats. We had 80 million clicks.
So
everyone looks at MLB.com. Please advertise your company.
We need to make
no
it-
one looks at it any time of year other than your stupid voting that you falsely made.
We need to make
twice.
him-
Who votes twice?
We need to make him a hashtag MLB clickbait shirt.
It's straight clickbait. It's just one more reason I fucking hate MLB.
Oh, jeez,
Yeah.
there we go. Well, one thing that's a cash cow when it comes to the All-Star Week is the home run derby.
Yep.
We've talked about this.
It's the best part of the
home
All-Star
run derby.
weekend.
The home run derby. The softball game gets a lot of TV time, and it gets even aired the next day usually, so that people love it. And right after the All-Star game and the home run derby, so. Exciting to see Trey going into this. I think there's still. Is it still 3 openings? Is it still 2 American League and 1 National League opening?
I think so.
That's left. So we still don't know what that is, and here we are a week out.
Right.
They better figure that out real quick. But Trey gets the announcement, gets the thank you, and then hits a 451-foot homer on Saturday himself.
Yeah.
Right. So straightaway center too.
It's a bomb.
Beautiful shot out there in LA. So it looked great. But I did want to ask you because you were talking about trades before a few weeks ago, and you said that nothing's off the table. You're willing to entertain anything. How do you feel about Trey participating? I know we talked about that. It's great. It's great publicity. It's the right thing to do because of what happened with him. It's a great way to raise money for a cause because they're going to figure out. I guarantee.
bring
I'm going to
awareness.
say this. I'm going to predict this right now. This is my home run derby prediction. They will find a way that for every home run Trey hits, some type of money will be donated from somebody.
I'm sure.
Somebody will come out with that based on that happening.
Yeah, I agree.
But do you worry a little bit about the Derby curse rearing its head on him after the Derby?
No, I mean, let's be honest. Trey hasn't been hitting very well lately. Yes, he hit that bomb over the weekend, but his average is somewhere around like in the 250s now at this point, maybe the 260s if he's hit well over the last 2 dates that I haven't paid attention. But I don't worry about the curse with him. I mean, if we were in like a playoff run or something like that, I might worry about it. If he was the star of our player and we're trying to make a playoff run, yeah, that might cross my mind. But at this point, the Orioles are looking at it as, well, we've got a solid lock on last place. We're hoping for the number 1 overall draft pick anyway, so I'm not worried about it from that perspective.
Okay.
The trade value, I don't know how much value Trey Mancini has right now. I told you before, Trey Mancini is a very good player on this team, but he's just an average player on most bigger MLB teams. I understand and I know where you're going to go. I understand what he brings in veteran presence and locker room leadership and all of that stuff, and that's invaluable and, unmeasurable and all of that. I get that. But just talking about statistically, when you're talking about outfielders, he's just not a wow guy to most of the big teams. So I just don't know how much trade value he's going to garner, whether he participates in this home run derby or not.
Well, you had brought up trade. That's why I was just curious to get your take on it because we've talked about him, doing well. He had a good portion at the end of May into most of June, and really until the last week of June, where
Drew says, or could it reverse the curse and a good showing in the derby break his bad back out and he shoots his way up? Maybe
that would be nice.
I'd hope so.
It'd be nice to see. So, but one guy who's got a great bat right now. He was just named the AL Rookie of the Month, Ryan Mountcastle.
He should also win an award for the best facial expressions. Do you ever watch him, like in the facial expressions that he makes, like either when an umpire makes a bad call or when he makes a bad swing at a pitch or something? He is fucking hysterical. I like Ryan Mountcastle, everything about him.
Yeah, no, he's good. But some people were saying, is this deserved? Some people on Twitter were saying, how could you have this be the case when he's playing on a losing team? Yeah, his numbers are great, but he's not really helping the team that much if they're still losing. I get what you're saying that he's on a losing tem, but he's still the best player.
He hit like 330 in June.
Take a listen to these numbers in June. 327 average, a 382 OBP, a 634 slugging percentage, a 1.015 OPS. Yep. Ryan, that's really good.
That's real good.
9 homers, 26 RBIs, and 2 of the understated ones, 8 walks and 4 doubles.
And the sad part about this is he could be hitting even higher as far as average goes because he is not missing the ball at all. Everything he hits is a fucking frozen.
He did have 26 Ks in the month of June, but like he was making more contact than he was Ks. This wasn't an Adam Jones situation where he was striking out as much as he was making contact.
Right, go ahead, Ryan.
Well, I just want to mention our one missing character here. The only other bright spot for the Orioles, who was actually up in Aberdeen, John Means.
Yeah.
John Means on his rehab in Aberdeen only pitched 1 inning. It was a 1-2-3 inning, but they did say he was hitting 90-94 on the gun, so that's good with his rehab. 76 mile an hour curve, 86 mile an hour sliders. He only threw 13
Any
pitches.
detection of sticky substance?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. This is Aberdeen. I didn't see anybody checking belts or gloves, so
That's true.
take it for what you will. But there were only 13 pitches, 10 of them strikes. He only let him pitch the 1 inning, got waved 2 of them. But, he's playing his children.
Well,
what does it mean? I don't know.
Again, it's more about just getting the work in, getting his arm ramped back up. If he's touching 94, that's promising.
His next outing, you're looking for him to go 2 innings,
right,
and still stay maintaining at 94, looking good, icing his arm big time afterwards. Rubbing some icy hot on it.
It was worth mentioning to transition to our Aberdeen.
Yeah,
so let's talk about that. So over the weekend, Ryan and I got a chance.
I'm gonna put up a shell and tell just because, like, I don't know what else to do. It's for the two of you, but it's not show and tell.
Well, Ryan and I got a chance to go up to Aberdeen over the weekend. We got to take in a game, and we also got to take in fireworks. It was obviously 4th of July weekend. And I was excited, man. This was the first time I was going to get a chance to see one of our top prospects, a guy we talked a lot about on the show, Gunnar Henderson. We knew going into this game that he had had his struggles since he got promoted to Aberdeen. I was hopeful that maybe we would be the extra push that he needed to come out of the
So what I'm
shell.
hearing is he wanted to have another son.
Yeah, he's looking he's adopted.
Unfortunately, it was not a good outing for Gunnar, both offensively, defensively, every way possible. It was not a good outing.
Yeah, Gunnar was pressing hard. I think this is a sports psychology issue here. You put this kid out there, he was a high schooler, getting to live out his dream in Delmarva, playing on the Shorebirds, and was just raking, having a good time. And then you brought him up so fast that now he's got pressure on his shoulders. He's an up-and-coming riser, and he's like on the fast track to the big leagues, and he has this and it's not going well for him. He's hitting terrible. I mean, because the Ironbirds are not that big a step. Like, the players you're playing against are not much different than who you were. So what else could it be?
Shout out to the guys over at the Verge podcast. They're a minor league podcast that has been doing a great job with keeping up on the farm and everything. I've been a big fan of them since they started. I think they just did episode 50, and they had Matt Blood, who's the director of player development for the Orioles, on the other day. And they were talking about, yesterday, they were talking about Gunnar Henderson. And basically, what Matt Blood is trying to explain is the same thing Ryan was saying. This is a big jump for a kid, right? And he's 18 years old. Actually 19 years old, just turned 20. You put a lot of pressure on yourself. I've talked about this many times. Baseball is one of the games that is like the most mental, I think, mental side of baseball, I think, has the biggest impact in sports, in my opinion. Things can get in your head, and it changes everything, right?
Yeah.
And part of what he's doing is he's pressing. But then also, to Matt Blood's credit, he said the jump in pitching talent from low A to single A to high A is immense.
Well, and this is the thing it's good but sucks about baseball, right? The failure rate in baseball is one of the highest in all of pro sports. Mm-hmm. Because of the simple fact
that they draft children.
Well, it also has to do with the fact that when you have these guys, there's in other sports, there's really not very many true developmental leagues, right? Who's NHL, right? Mm-hmm. They've had developmental league, the Hershey Bears, for example, as a developmental team. So, or NHL, yeah. NBA is starting to get on board with kind of like seeming like, okay, maybe the G League is that place for us. There's
Aaron
not.
Wiggins.
What's that?
I said Aaron Wiggins.
Yeah, Aaron Wiggins. But there's not. We'll get to that in a little bit. There's not much in the way in other sports. So it's a double-edged sword, right? Because these guys recognize that the longer they stay in the minors, the greater the chance that their dream never comes true. Because it's one of the few sports that's the case.
Yeah.
When you look at it, that's why some of these guys try to rush it. Right, they're trying to get up there. They're on a timetable that they don't even know about. right? I'm sure they're shared, hey, we want to get you to this point. You need to work on this. You need to work on this. Other sports, I mean, think about the NFL. Can you imagine coming out of the NFL draft and having to go and sit for 3 years in another league and then coming up playing?
I get it.
So there's a lot in these kids, and they recognize that, and it is hard for them. So I agree with Matt Blood. It's hard for these guys to make that jump, and the same is true with the pitching. To your point, that pitching is kind of, to equate it to the NFL, it's guys that have trouble with game speed in the NFL.
Yeah.
Right? You can't, he's really struggling with game speed. We've heard that.
Right.
But I call
it's
bullshit.
the same thing.
Hold on, Ryan. So the thing is, what Matt Blood was basically trying to say is that low A to high A is one of the biggest jumps in talent this year, right now, as far as pitching talent, especially in the division that the Ironbirds are in right now.
It's like going from community college to a top 10
Here's
school.
the thing where I was trying to go at with the whole mental side of the things. You can see how much the mental side is affecting Gunnar specifically right now, because it's not just struggles at the plate.
Yep,
what him and I saw were struggles in the field, defensively, trying to make up for other things that he's lacking in by making spectacular plays, but then making bad plays. Yeah, I mean, there was a double play up the middle that should have been an easy turn that he botched. It's just it was a bad look all around for him. It's sad because
what happened was, that's why I was going to call bullshit about the pitching, because the fielding is what started in this game.
Yeah.
He had an easy play to shortstop. It was a easy grounder. He went to pick it and he missed it. It happens. No big deal. But he let that eat him alive.
Yeah.
The rest of the game, he was laying out for balls he didn't need to be laying out for. He ran and cut off his second baseman on what would have been an easy double play, and instead knocked the ball to the ground with his glove and ruined that double play. He was just all over the place.
And then later on, he's throwing his glove in the dugout and whatnot.
Yeah.
So you could tell the mental side of things are a struggle for him right now.
I like that in the sense that I'm seeing emotion, right? I'm looking for a plus side.
Chris Davis.
There's guys that can get frustrated, and you see that. Okay,
there's good emotion and there's bad emotion.
Right, come back from it. And I think it was Drew that just chimed in a second ago that said Matt Blood also was happy to see him struggling and not just riding high.
And he's
that he knows what it looks like to struggle.
Yeah, it's not going to all be sunshine and rainbows all the time. That you're going to have these kind of struggles. Go ahead, Jay.
But also, I just want to know who was the guy that came up with putting AstroTurf on the whole goddamn field.
It's a weird look.
It is strange, but
the majors don't even play on that crap.
They do in Toronto.
In Toronto, because
that's my point.
No one wants to put any money out there.
This is kind of what I was talking about with Ryan. I don't know if that was the decision. This is me guessing. I think it's Toronto is one of the only places that are full AstroTurf fields
but
like
they don't
that,
have
and
to
it's in an
upkeep.
AL East.
They don't have to upkeep on it.
That's
what
well,
it is.
That's part of it too. There was 2 grounds crew people there now running the staff.
No, it was one.
Or one.
One dude came out on a gator. Threw the 2 white circles down, and then he drove back and got some weights, and he put them on top of circles. Ground crew done.
Yeah. So now instead of having to pay 8 people, you're paying 1.
I think it's awful. I would go out there and help with the field. That is completely... when you're trying to come up in the bigs and you're fucking playing on fucking carpet...
Toronto only switched to grass because they were playing in Buffalo, Drew. Not in Toronto.
I think no. They went to turf, but it's not AstroTurf.
No. It's a turf similar to what they're playing at in Aberdeen right now.
Is it?
It's
the
a different
rubberized
kind of
crap.
It's not the fucking bullshit carpet on concrete that they used to have. It's actual athletic turf.
And when they put it in, the ball was rolling slow, and they talked about
because they wanted because they filled it with too much rubber, so they had to pull some of the rubber out to make the grass a little bit.
But it's awful. Like Toronto's the only stadium that has it because they don't want to put any money out to build a new stadium.
The thing that comes with
stadium.
The thing that comes with it though, that you have to think about it. Right, you're talking about it's less upkeep, things like that. Think about and we all saw the videos last week.
Yeah.
Think about the grounds crew at Bowie. How much recovery has to go into that field?
Yeah.
Right. Because you have to get the mud that's all off of it. In a turf field, you can actually technically put in a better drainage system because you're not having to go through soil. It goes through the turf, it goes through the carpeting turf of it, and then it goes through the rubber pellets, and then it's down into the draining system.
Drew's right. So, I'm looking at pictures of the field's grass now.
I was going to say, I thought it was
not grass.
In Toronto, or are you looking at Buffalo?
At Rogers,
Rogers
Stadium.
Center, yeah, they put in. It's not a
It's
full.
not
It's not a
grass.
full grass. It is like it is
It's
a
turf.
much. It's a much. It's like the turf that if I were to put turf in my backyard, like the
Chuck
pet
says
turf.
real grass doesn't grow in Buffalo.
That's what it, no, it doesn't grow on Buffalo.
True.
But, no.
But all right, Ryan, get back to the game real quick. Let's talk a little bit about the game itself.
Yeah, did you guys
not
hear
just-
something like see
not
something
just
like the
Gunnar
ninth or
Henderson?
something like that?
Yeah, so there was an injury situation. This was a fast-paced game. It was 0-0 going into the late innings. I want to say it was like the 7th or 8th inning where I can't think of the team that we were playing against, but they put a couple runs on the board. They put 3 runs on the board.
It was a real boring game. It was a pitcher duel,
Yeah.
0-0.
How many
through
times did he
6
fall
innings.
So if you're looking for something good, the pitching in this game was good. JD Mundy looks like the real deal. The kid reads the strike zone very well, makes good contact. Jordan Westberg is as advertised defensively. Didn't do a whole lot offensively in that game, but defensively looked good. The thing that happened in this game later on, I'll let Ryan to kind of explain this, how it happened, but there was an interesting situation with the catcher and the umpire late in the game with the away team that had a 3-0 lead.
Yeah, it was a little strange. So, and they don't tell you anything. They don't announce anything. So we're putting pieces together, but this is how it went down. So we're down 3-0. This beautiful O'Day-like pitcher throwing sidearm, my favorite, is out there just destroying the Ironbirds. And I guess he didn't get a couple calls he didn't like, this, that, the other.
Mind you,
Something
the
happened.
umpire had been terrible
Both ways.
all game long.
As bad as the buoy umpire?
Not quite that
Okay.
bad.
But there was a lot of trash talk from players
Yes.
going on, and the umpire wasn't even mad about it.
Right.
He was like, "Yeah, I suck." But anyway, fastball up. Apparently, the catcher didn't even make an attempt at it. Caught the pitcher or the umpire right in the chest. Umpire stumbles away. He's a little hurt. He goes and meets with the umpire that was standing between second and third. They talk. All of a sudden, the pitcher's being thrown out of the game.
Wait, hold on. Let me get this straight. The catcher purposely doesn't catch the ball. Very obvious to everybody there.
I mean,
Sounds like.
I'm guessing that's what they decided because the pitcher's all of a sudden gone.
Yeah.
But why are you throwing out the fucking pitcher if the catcher's the one?
No
like,
idea.
Yeah, I'm not
idea.
going to catch this.
But the catcher did not switch. I was kind of interested. I was like, how is that possible? It's like, well, the person that threw the object is the one that was the assault charge.
Right.
He has every right as an umpire to go, you didn't catch that on purpose. Get the fuck out. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. They should have probably ejected both of them is probably what the actual play should have been, but they didn't. But what ends up happening then is they bring out some 4th grader to throw lob balls to our players.
Right.
I don't know what this guy was doing because everyone on the Ironbirds was hitting it. That we got a bases loaded on walks and singles, and then we're 10 feet away from watching a walk-off grand slam in the 9th. It hit warning track power, and so we're like, oh man, we're gonna lose this. And then we hit. There was an
double.
error. There was an error at first base on I think Hunter's ball, wasn't it?
Yes.
Was it Hunter that hit that ball?
Yes.
So he had a line drive at the first baseman. It still should have been an out, but it was misplayed. He did hustle. He had not have the Manny in him. He hustled down the line and he got a single out of it.
Yeah.
Kept the inning alive. And then there was a couple hits to right field that drove in winning runs.
Yeah,
it was unreal.
double to win the game. A 2-run double to win the game, 4-3.
Dude's throwing 80-mile-an-hour fastballs down the center of the plate and just let us win it. It was a 4th of July miracle.
Yeah.
all right, cool.
So it ended up being a pretty entertaining game that did not start off that way. After the first 6 or 7 innings, it was pretty slow. Well, the game went pretty fast, but it wasn't a very entertaining game, to say the least.
all righty. Good to see that.
Some good and some
And the
negative
fireworks were
pull away
great.
from it. All right, Scott, it's time for this week's Liquor Stop Brew of the Week. What did Jerry and the crew hook us up with?
So Jerry hooked us up with it's a beer from Raven Beer.
So say it's got a familiar,
very
big
familiar
four-headed
face.
guy on the front. Might be somebody I'm related to.
Oh, really?
With the size of that
Oh,
forehead.
with the size of the forehead. All right. Telltale Heart IPA from Raven Beer. It never skips a beat, according to them. 7.3, one of the higher IPAs we've had in a while.
Yep, and it drinks like a 7.3.
Yeah, it's heavy, very hoppy. They say it's the piece from the Telltale Heart. They have the quote on there. It's the beating of his hideous heart. So not a bad beer. It is heavy. It is not. It's like a 1 beer for me. Like I'll have one of these and I wouldn't be able to have another, just because it's very hoppy. But not too bad. Also grabbed another few beers. Last week, I know we had the long drive, and I have one that he actually just got in this past week that I tried that was really good, and it was a fruited sour. So I've learned there's sour and fruited sour now.
Right.
So this fruited sour is from Peabody Heights, the one that we had the trash wheel from.
Yeah.
Which one, Mr. Trash Wheel or the Scientist Trash Wheel or the Snake Trash Wheel?
The one behind curtain number 3.
All three. All three. But no, this one was actually, so it's called Juiced.
Okay.
And there was this big thing on it on Twitter that they were doing it, and it blew up on Twitter and Facebook. That a bunch of people were saying this stuff. I tasted it. It's like I think it's called a blueberry mango sherbet fruited sour.
I liked everything about that until the sour part.
It doesn't taste like a sour.
Okay.
I'm gonna get you one. You're
right.
you're gonna try it. It is actually pretty good.
All right.
Like I do believe that you will drink it. And the other two that we had two one sour and one milkshake IPA today. They were okay.
Right.
But this one on another level tasted amazing.
Well, make sure you get up to Liquor Stop. Tell Jerry and the crew that Birdland BS sent you. Get your 10% off. All right, Ryan, it's time for this week's installment of Shell and Tell.
Our Shell and Tell segment grew. Was he over there typing away?
He took my advice and
Shell
he
and Tell
kind
segment grew? No, it didn't.
he elaborated on his notes. It went from 3 words to 23 words. So he elaborated. So there's not a whole lot. Honestly, there's not a whole lot going on this week, but the little bit that was going on,
Some big news.
big news around the Hoop squad, as we had been kind of waiting, like I said last week, for the shoe to drop on the big 3. We had kind of heard what was happening with Daryl Morcell last week. Well, we found out where the other 2 pieces kind of fall in.
Yeah, so Daryl Morcell goes to Marquette. Not the greatest news in the world. Eric Ayala is back, my boy, Mr. Slow Motion. He did lead the team last year with 15.1 points per game. And honestly, with the upgrades we've had elsewhere on the team, he'll be able to play more of his natural position of the 2, where he had to play a lot of 1 the last couple of years.
Yep.
And that's just not who he is. Does a great job at it. I enjoy watching that, but he would rather be a shooting guard.
Right. The other piece, the other shoe to fall here was the one that we all talked about having probably the most NBA potential out of the 3 that we talked about. Aaron Wiggins decides to forego the extra season or his final season at Maryland and keep his name in the NBA draft.
Yeah, I mean, I guess technically he had 2 more seasons that he could have played here.
With COVID.
But he was getting older. That's part of it. Wiggins remains in the NFL draft for going his eligibility. I don't see any guarantees out there. I don't see him on any of the mock drafts.
Yeah, because he won't be in the NFL
really
draft.
expect. I don't really expect him to be in the NBA next year. So he just wants to go play professional somewhere else, I guess.
Yeah, I guess the biggest problem that I have with this is not, I don't have a problem with him chasing his dream. It's just if everything that you're seeing is not pointing at you at a promise to be in an NBA, right? Your biggest potential then is going to end up being in the G League, playing somewhere there. I feel like with everything that's kind of going on with this whole name, image, likeness that's going around right now with college sports, he could make that kind of money staying at Maryland or at least somewhere close to it.
Yeah, I think he could make more. And that's what I was just saying. He seems to be the opposite of more. This is like, I've always dreamed to go play professional basketball. I'm going to go play professional basketball. Because I think if it was really about the dollar, being the best player on a top 10 college team with name, image, likeness allowing you to get sponsorships feels like you would make more money than a G League or European contract.
Right.
I have a question because you would be more up on this. Has anybody that they brought in, would they be taking playing time away from him if he came back?
I don't think so.
Nah.
I think he's better than pretty much everybody.
See,
Okay.
here's the thing with that, and I talked to you a little bit about this the other day. So I do think that it's a loss not having Aaron Wiggins. That's a given, hands down. But I do think some of the other pieces that we have coming in, we've got the kid Fats coming in from was it Rhode Island that he came out of. He's going to be that point guard. That controls the ball, but he's also a score first kind of point guard. He's electric, right? He can shoot the ball, he can get to the basket. I'm not comparing
Cowan-esque.
I'm not comparing him to Cowan or Melo, but he has that quickness and that explosion and that get to the basket type of ability. So I like Fats, and I think he'll make up a large chunk of the point differential. Like you said, to your credit, moving Ayala more to the number 2 and getting him more shot opportunities versus being a facilitator, I think his numbers will take an uptick. I think the improvements that we're going to have in the low post presence with getting the center from Georgetown and some of the transfers that we have coming in, depending on health, obviously, because Martinez is obviously dealing with some injury stuff right now. I think you're going to see some points made up on the low side of things, on the low post side of things too. So yes, it's a loss, but I don't think it's as catastrophic of a loss as some may think. You know, I've seen some people say with Wiggins, this was a top 5 potential team, and then without Wiggins, they dropped to a like top 20 team. I don't know if it's that despairing, to be honest with you. I think, in my opinion, honestly, with or without Wiggins, I think this team was potentially a Sweet 16 team, regardless with or without him.
What this did for me was not only did this hurt missing out on Wiggins, but this made me hurt more about the Morcell thing. Because we had an abundance of small forward types. So losing Morcell was like, okay. We then lose another small forward shooting guard, whatever you want to call Aaron Wiggins, 2-3. So we're down again. And so it's like a war of attrition. It's not necessarily him. I do agree with you. We have multiple players that can make up the
loss,
the loss.
Point production.
We certainly have upgraded the 5. There's no doubt whatsoever. We lost fake Jalen Smith and Galen Smith down there, and we lost Chol Mariel, who was no loss at all.
Right.
You know, played 5 minutes and got 5
fouls. But just take a second and look back 2 years ago and then to last year, and look at the improvement that we saw in guys like Dante Scott and the improvement that we saw in Hakeem Hart. Hakeem Hart wasn't even on our radar as a potential impact player last year because he was so bad his freshman year.
That's the big one. If Hakeem Hart can take even half the step that he took last year, then he could basically erase the thought of Aaron Wiggins.
Exactly.
I don't think that anyone else we brought in actually replaces Aaron Wiggins or Morcell, because we brought in guards, we brought in big men. We didn't really bring in that athletic stretch 3 type. That was not who we got here.
Right.
So
listen, I hope he gets drafted.
I hope he does too.
I love Aaron
really
Wiggins.
hope he proves us all wrong.
I do.
And I don't know anything. It's not me. It's just prove the people I'm reading wrong.
Right.
Because I'm not making a judgment here. You
Right.
could be the best player in the NBA draft for all I know.
Well, so I wanted to get your take on this. The whole name, image, likeness thing, right? We talked about that and how he could have potentially made the kind of money that he would make in the G League just getting money off of endorsements from name, image, likeness. We're already seeing it kind of take off at College Park. We've seen a lot of endorsements with Barstool and a couple other companies that have been out there. I can't even think of the name right now. GoPuff, I think, is one of them. My question to you is, what are your thoughts on the name, image, likeness so far, and what the potential impact will be with this team or sports program?
I think it's great, but I think that they needed to get off their ass and work these kinks out 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Because I think they
There just seems to be no clarity.
They forced it through because they had to, because they were losing control, they were losing power. The NCAA was about to be no more because they were just going to unionize and go around them, and this was like last grip effort of like, okay, just let them do it. When we could have spent 5 years figuring out the legalities of it, the logistics of it, how we're going to keep a competitive balance while allowing it, what the difference between an infraction and a non-infraction is, because really, like, you have to prove so much. Like, you could legit, you're not allowed to give people a sponsorship in order for them to play for your team.
Right.
But how do you tie those things? It's going to be so many like disconjointed.
Well,
you have to prove that that's tied together.
Yeah.
So like, there's no limit, there's no number per individual person, there's no like exclusion for me. Before it was a much bigger deal whether, you know, their buddy could buy them dinner. But if I ran into the bar and wanted to pay for Aaron Wiggins' tab because he was cool that night, I literally couldn't because I was a season ticket holder and therefore considered a booster. And therefore, if I just pay his bar tab, the dude gets kicked out of college, which is insane. I'm glad it's gone.
It's ridiculous.
But like the difference between that and what we have now of like, I don't know what the difference is. And the players don't know. I was just in communication with a player asking them because we've interviewed players, and in the past I've asked them to sign memorabilia to send back so we can keep a collection of it.
Yeah.
And we've always held off until they graduate. And so I've been in communication with some of the players about it. And one of them was like, yeah, well, we can do that. And the other one was like, I'll get back to you on that. Because they don't know. They need to check. And that's good. They need to, check their. There's a reason why we didn't push the topic. Was even though I'm not giving them anything, I didn't want something to be misconstrued and cost this kid something.
Right. No, and I get that. I'm glad you're going through all that and dotting your T's or crossing your T's, dotting your I's.
Definitely check with everyone that you need to check with.
Let me ask you this though, because just a couple years ago, it might have been a year ago, the University of Maryland was kind of advertising themselves or publicizing themselves as they're in support of the whole name, image, likeness. It seemed like it was going to be based on the university's decision whether they were going to actually allow these players to make money off of name, image, likeness. Well, now that this is passed, so people and fans out there understand, is there any difference in what Maryland is doing and versus what all other colleges are doing, or is pretty much everybody on board with this now?
They just had a head start. So what Maryland was doing was putting into effect basically resources for the players, so that they had I think it was called Open Doors or something. It
was like teachings for them, right?
So it was teaching you how to brand yourself, teaching the legalities of like how to write contracts and how to read contracts. Resources on
so they were prepared day one to be able to jump forward.
Connecting you with individual businesses that are looking for this opportunity instead of it just being Twitter DMs.
Right.
Like there was like a middleman. There was a free agent, if you will.
Right.
Go ahead, Scott.
So I just want to chime in because Garnett said something. This is exactly kind of where I stand. The NCAA realized how much money they're missing out on the football game. So here's the thing, right? Think about this from this perspective in the NCAA. If I get allowed, say, okay, fine, you can use your name, image, likeness now. You can make money. You can do all that stuff. Now these guys go and do that. Well, how are those companies then going to promote? They're going to turn around and make commercials that are going to wind up airing on, during NCAA games. What happens? Now the NCAA is getting more money. That's what this is all about. It has nothing to do with rushing it to make it look good. They want to make more money, and they want to make it now because they didn't make it last year. So why not go ahead and say, yeah, you can use it, because most of that money is going to wind up coming back because those people are going to be pointed in a certain direction, and that is already sports. So why not go ahead and add the content from a sport perspective?
I don't know. I think this was like the whole both racial inequities and just like socioeconomic inequities of like the man abusing people. Like that's the hot button topic everywhere, not just in college sports.
Right.
That's the talking point everywhere. And when this was going way outside of sports, this was going to the Supreme Court. This was going in front of Congress. This was like, I mean, the Jordan McNair bill in front of the Senate with Marty talking in front of him, like this was bigger than the NCAA, and the NCAA, who has always been, you do this because we fucking say so, realized bigger, badder dogs were about to get involved, and they needed to stop it.
Joe Carlozo, our Birdland BS tax expert, has a good point. Sounds like a lot of tax problems, and these kids have no idea what they are getting themselves into.
I agree with that. 100%.
I 100% agree with you, and I'm hoping that Open Doors is trying to teach them some of that. I'm hoping that they've set aside like telling these kids you need to keep 30 to 40% of your income for next April to see what this does. Like it's because they're going to get surprised. They're really going to get surprised.
There's definitely going to be a lot of
all that money.
There's going to be a lot of hurdles. There's going to be a lot of coaching with this. There's going to be a lot of learning.
But that's a lot of good because there's so much shit I learned in college that means fucking nothing. So if they could teach everyone in college how to do their own taxes and how to like. If we could just get rid of H&R sorry, Joe Carlozo, if we could just get rid of your job.
maybe it'll take this to finally bring high schools to introduce a finance class.
Yes. Yeah.
Finally.
Joe says, let's start NIL shop. We can make millions. I think you just worked yourself out of that, which is saying you got out of a job.
All right, fellas, it's time for this week's rundown, which we haven't done in a few weeks.
Been a while.
It has been a while. I'll start this week's off, and I'll let you go because we're kind of on a similar vibe here.
We'll start off on the somber note, then maybe get into some excitement.
We're all covering disasters. Mine's just a little less sad.
Yeah. If you haven't heard, some tragic news hit the golf circuit the other day. Pro golfer Gene Siller was found dead on the 10th green at the Pine Tree Country Club in Kennesaw, Georgia on Saturday.
Crazy.
He was shot in the head apparently and pronounced dead on the scene. Officers also found bodies of 2 other men in the bed of a Dodge 3500 pickup truck on the green as well. So apparently one of the bodies was the owner of the truck. Both victims were also found with gunshot wounds to the head. To me, this sounds like mob ties, just the way that they were killed. It's just weird.
I just had a bad day at the greens, all right, man? I needed to blow some, like a 72. I can't shoot that anymore.
Yeah.
72 on the front nine.
Well, apparently Siller was reportedly responding to an issue on the golf course 10th hole when a man in a white truck pulled his vehicle onto a sand trap nearby, according to the Post. And then when Siller went to talk with the man in the vehicle, that's when he was shot. It's awful news. I mean, Siller was only in his late 40s.
Yeah.
You know, he's got a wife and kids and everything. It's
so many questions of what, like, it was hit situation. Is there somebody else involved? I haven't heard if a gun was found.
This sounds like something straight out of a mob story, like a movie.
Well, I know that some people were saying like, oh, is this a murder, suicide? But there was no from what everybody's saying and from whatever I've read, I haven't heard anything about a gun being found. So it makes you like, what the hell's going on here?
Apparently, people saw the guy flee from the scene, so there was somebody apparently spotted. It's just
somebody pushing cocaine through that country club.
Something was happening.
Probably.
But guys, Scott.
Well, my guy wasn't pushing through cocaine through a country club. He just he died of chest trauma from an errant firework. And that was goaltender Columbus Blue Jackets goaltender Matisse Kilvanikis. He died of chest trauma from an errant firework mortar blast. Now, police this has happened in Novi, Michigan.
Not Ocean City?
Not Ocean City, no.
Oh, God, that was
that was shit show too.
Good God.
But they said that the firework apparently tilted slightly towards some people that were nearby on Sunday night. I mean, this 24-year-old kid was hanging out with some friends and some family in a hot tub. A bunch of people tried jumping out. The cops actually thought that he had jumped out of the hot tub and hit his head while running away, and that's how he died. Yeah. But it was this autopsy report that said the mortar actually hit him in the chest. And that's what killed this guy. Crazy story. The police actually responded to this pretty quickly. 4 minutes and 38 seconds from the time the call was made to when they got on scene. Crazy, but it's just sad to hear. Young kid, 24. He was one of the up and coming goaltenders in the league. And it's just really sad to hear. And
it's sad. There's a lot of danger in fireworks.
We've seen Pierre-Paul lose part of his hand.
Ask Jason Pierre-Paul how that worked out for him. I see videos on TikTok all the time of these college kids shooting fireworks at each other, lighting them in people's bedrooms and bathrooms to scare people, like dumb shit that it's not safe. It's too risky. I'm hopeful.
We did some dumb shit as kids, for sure.
100% I have. I can't say I haven't.
I blew off $800 of fireworks in about 17 seconds. In fact, it was not my fault. I had a very safe setup. We blew off about $800 worth of fireworks one year. Had no problems. The next year, my buddy Eric, who's going to get his name drawn here, wanted to help out with more than just the repeaters, and so we each got to load mortars, which did make it a little bit faster and a lot more fun to watch.
You better load that mortar in the right way.
He loaded it in the right way, but he did not light it at the end of the fuse. He lit it in the middle of the fuse, which when you light a fuse in the middle, the other end becomes a rocket. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it's really intimidating. It spirals in circles. And when it's dark, it's really fun to watch until it lands in your bucket of repeat mortars. And it begins to glow in front of you. And you don't know what to do. We were in the water. I thought I was doing everything safe. I had a floating beer pong table this thing was being launched off of. Put the whole bucket under the water. I'm like, fuck $800. Let's drown these things. Well, the fuses are waterproof because they're fireworks. So that bitch kept glowing. I'd yell, everybody get down, and it looked like Fallujah in there, man. Just so I'm underwater getting punched in the back by mortars. I mean, these were the big boys. These were the 300-foot up, 90-foot burst, illegal as shit fireworks.
I think I'm more leaning towards the future with fireworks and seeing more of these light shows that they're doing with these the drones and everything. Sounds a little bit more safer than what fireworks are.
So I was actually at somebody's house this weekend, and they lit them off. Did you know they're doing the full ones now? They're becoming more and more popular, where it's like a full box of a 5-minute or 2-minute show. It's you light one fuse and you walk away. And as long as you bolt it down to a piece of wood or something, you're fine.
Yeah, people will still find a way to fuck that
But
one.
Yeah,
besides-
Bill just told him.
with that story, I also read while he was talking to a teammate, he told his teammate before he passed that don't get in the ambulance with me, and then he was passed on the way to the hospital.
That's awful.
crazy.
All right, James, being that we're on you, we'll let you go to the next topic. Well, go ahead.
Mine is, did you know there's 2 NFL players that could win a championship ring for basketball?
One of them will.
And one of them will.
One of them will. That's
and come to find out, you have the Suns and Bucks starting tonight in the finals, and Aaron Rodgers is a minority owner of the Bucks, and Fitzgerald.
Larry Fitzgerald.
Larry Fitzgerald is for the Arizona minority. So one of them is going to have an NBA championship ring.
Larry-
besides the
so-
football.
Larry making some money this month. First he's on the match tonight.
Yeah.
Now he's got his going on.
You talking about Aaron Rodgers? Yeah, Aaron Rodgers.
Well, no, both of Larry Fitzgerald was on. He's actually on the panel with Charles Barkley for the match tonight.
Oh, yeah. So Aaron Rodgers has a chance to win a Super Bowl, an MVP, a golf tournament, and possibly an NBA championship ring all in one year.
And still has 1.2 million less followers than Lamar.
That's true. All right, Ryan, you're up.
All right. I have a little bit different NFL news. So, apparently anybody can request a trade now. Even if you've never done anything, even if you are a nobody.
Tim Tebow on the move?
Yeah, Tim Tebow wants to get a no. N'Keal Harry, remember that name?
I do.
When he
Yeah.
used to be good like in college,
Yeah.
in Arizona State.
He was great in college.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he got drafted by the Patriots, 32nd overall pick in 2019. Injured his first year, only played 7 games, but still did nothing those 7 games. 12 passes, 105 yards, and that was with Brady.
Yeah.
Now, last season, of course, you only had Cam that couldn't throw anything. I'd probably go to throw more passing yards. 33 receptions, 309 yards, 14 games. So still didn't play all the games. You can't stay on the field. You're not catching the ball, but you're demanding a trade. I just don't understand. Like, we're losing complete control at this point.
Yep.
I get the star quarterbacks. I get, like, when you've been wronged by an organization, like Ngakwe felt like there was, like, personal issues between him and the coaching staff. Just, I didn't get the ball enough. I want to trade now. You've never done anything when you get the ball.
You
What are
haven't
talking
even
about?
lived out your first contract
Yeah,
yet.
at least Hayden Hurst, like,
Earn something.
Hayden Hurst, at least, fucking, when he got the ball, he did something with it, and then he fucking yelled at the coaches that he did something.
Yeah, but see, here's the
N'Keal
thing.
Harry doesn't do anything.
Here's the thing that's the difference with Hayden Hurst. Hayden Hurst didn't go public with this. Hayden Hurst went
Well, it's
to...
kind of public due to the cameras. Huh? When he was flipping out of the sidelines.
Oh no,
Give me
but
the
I'm
fucking ball.
talking about trade requests.
Yes. Yeah.
He went to Eric DeCosta and said, if you can facilitate a trade, I would like that. And it was up to the Ravens to whether or not they were going to do that. To go public like this and have your lawyer and your agent go out and go public with this, it's a bad look for somebody that's under a rookie contract. I 100% agree with you. They're losing control.
Makes people
of this.
not want to deal with you.
Yeah, anybody and everybody can trade at this point or be asked to be traded. And for once, Ravens flock, sit this one out. Please.
Yeah, they won't. They won't because I've already seen it.
Yeah.
I was looking today on one of the Facebook pages and
Thank
said,
God I didn't
well,
see it.
since nobody's said it, I'll be the guy. N'Keal Harry wants a trade. For what? I mean, if you want to give them Boykin for N'Keal Harry even, just because of Lamar.
For a guy that you're going to cut anyway?
Yeah,
Whatever.
I mean, because Lamar kind of pretty much apparently hates Boykin. Maybe he won't hate this guy. Like, you can do that, but we're not giving up draft capital for this guy that's never done anything with Tom Brady. With Tom Brady. What do you think he's going to do down here? Nothing more than that. He's doing nothing.
Yeah, I agree.
No rules. No boundaries. 2 topics. 30 seconds each. It's time for the 2-minute warning.
All right, Scott, it's time for the 2-minute warning.
You're going first, Hoss.
I'm going first. All right. We got it.
All right.
Who's asking the first question?
I got you, boss.
All right, man, I'm ready.
Last week, 100-meter favorite Sha'Carri Richardson failed a drug test for marijuana, keeping her out of the Olympic Games. How does it Whoa,
How just is it?
How just is it that we should start getting more lax on marijuana use? Mind you, it was legal in the state she used it in.
Yeah.
Yo.
You basically took my point. I mean, the state that she smoked it in was completely legal. I think having marijuana as a substance to be tested for needs to go away in all sports, in my opinion. There's so many medicinal reasons that people use, marijuana. That, again, it's not a performance-enhancing drug. I think that this is time that the world just accepted marijuana use and deal with it.
I agree. I love Robin Williams. You ever seen Robin Williams stand up when he's talking about marijuana use and the Olympics, and he says it isn't a fucking performance enhancing drug unless there's a big fucking Hershey bar at the end of the fucking run, right? That's all it is.
I never heard that. That's funny.
It's hilarious. But no, it's you have to go with the times. Times are changing. I get it. I do get the point that some people say it's she knew that it was a problem.
Yeah,
you knew that it's not legal, but you know what? Just get past the times. Second question.
All right, another weed topic. With Josh Gordon applying to be reinstated in the NFL again, should there be a 3 strikes and you're out type?
For weed and weed only, no. But Josh Gordon has been a substance abuser, and that's the problem. There's been issues with him with DUIs. There's been issues with him with cocaine going back to his college days. It's more than just marijuana. And Josh Gordon is a guy that just either needs the help and just hasn't accepted it. I feel bad for the guy because you hate to see somebody struggle like this.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's definitely. I agree, it's a substance abuse problem. He's had problems. I think in college he had problems with like cocaine. He experimented with that. He's had marijuana. He's had alcohol issues as well.
Right.
Suspensions for alcohol, DUIs. So look, there's an overall substance abuse problem. The 3 strikes you're out thing, yes, but at the same time, if you're going to do that, it needs to be for multiple things, and you need to have grades, right? A grade 1 is you're done. You are done, period.
Right.
Grade 2, you get 2 strikes. Grade 3, you get 3 strikes. And but we're kind of getting to a point with Josh Gordon. It's like, dude, the NFL needs to step up and say, hey,
it's such a waste because he's super talented.
Right. But the NFL, this is where the NFL needs to do the right thing and step in and say, look, we're not going to reinstate you until you successfully complete a rehabilitation program.
That's the problem. Is he goes through these, he completes them, but then he completely reverts back to it the minute he gets reinstated.
As
and
someone
after the
that
second
sends
time,
6 people a week to those, they don't work usually.
Right.
Fair enough.
All right, Scott. Good show. Sign us off.
Yeah, appreciate you guys tuning in each and every week. I got no script in front of me this week because I'm finally learning how to do this without it. Make sure you guys check us out on our website, www.birdlandbs.com. While you're there, get yourself some Birdland BS gear. Always wearing it. Get some hats, get some shirts, get some Shell and Tell in. You got the Shell and Tell podcast as well. I know that'll be picking up here soon as we start getting back into the flow of things with college programs. Make sure you check that out. Also, check us out on Birdland Sports and Big Play. We're all on those 2 pages as well. If you want to have your opinion or topic heard on the show, make sure you find us first at Birdland BS is how you find us, or / Birdland BS is how you find us on any of the social media pages. That's Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat. Where the hell else are we? I think I got them all. Everywhere. Make sure you also check out the audio version of the podcast, Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, wherever you listen. Some of you guys asked for verbal. We're on verbal. Spotify, there was an issue. Thank you guys for pointing that out. We got that fixed mostly, I believe.
Yeah,
I think it's fixed completely. God damn you. What was it? Music, whatever, Universal, whatever it is.
Whoever.
Screw you, Universal. Simple as that.
Old 2-minute warning.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Make sure you always tune in each and every week. Tuesdays, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. Stay tuned for the after hours. We're going to be talking the Birdland BS inaugural Dynasty League draft.
Yeah, man.
Talking that and a little new segment that's getting a shift in the Would You Rather / Pick Your Poison. Make sure you check us out and tune in each and every week for Fred, Ryan, James, Drew, who's not here, and myself.
Feel better, buddy.
We'll see you guys next week.
See ya.
See ya.
It's time for the after party.
It's your last call for alcohol.
All right, before we draw the names, who wants what?
Wait, what?
Like, pick your favorite draft position, 1 through 12.
6.
Ooh, in a dynasty, we're doing snake draft, right?
Yep.
Snake draft this year.
Yeah, this year.
I will go with 7.
I'm at 8, so right there. Yeah, I want to get a little bit earlier on the
All right, now everybody's going to think it's rigged. If we go 6, 7, and 8, everybody's going to be like, fuck you guys. I'm not playing.
James, where do you want to go?
9. Just say 9.
I want last.
What's
last? All right,
Number
so
12. All right.
we
Ricky,
got.
Ricky wants the first and second pick. I don't think we can do that, Ricky.
All right, change the camera. We got everybody's name in here. We made sure that we cut all the name pieces in
Show
even
the
lengths.
cutting tool.
Yeah,
There's a cutting tool to
very
cut this shit.
accurate.
Who has this? Who,
I don't know. Some
who
nerdy shit,
has
dude.
that?
Don't ask my wife that.
That's that little deck
Jesus.
stuff.
Fuck out.
That's how they cut the lumber for his deck. Anyway, we got all the numbers and
Chuck
names in
wants
here.
5-ish.
And we're starting. What do you want to do? Do you want to start
got
from the
9.
bottom? You want to start from the
Yes,
bottom?
we're picking 12 first.
We're
Bring
going
it 12.
12.
We're going backwards.
We're going
Damn.
backwards.
Yeah, 12 first, right?
Damn.
I'm asking.
Yeah, because it makes it more drama for the number 1 pick.
I
12
guess.
first.
That's awful.
All right. Number 12.
James doesn't like it.
12.
All right, number 12.
Well, we pick number 1 next.
With the 12th pick in the first NFL Dynasty draft, Birdland BS, that would be a redheaded Ryan Hewitt.
He's
Oh, we have 2 redheads. I was
Ryan.
gonna say.
Ryan Hewitt.
And both are named Ryan.
We've no Eric.
Oh, is it?
Here,
All
you
right.
can put all the names in order.
There we go.
All right. Second, go ahead and reach in there, Scott, and you can pick one out.
The 11 pick.
The 11th pick.
This better not be my own fucking name. I'm going to be pissed.
Nah, you wouldn't be pissed.
Chuck. Buffalo Chuck.
Buffalo
Chuck
Chuck
does
with
not
the
get a
11th
five-ish.
pick.
Buffalo Chuck gets that like soft turn.
James, get up here.
I don't mind the 11 because you gotta get that back on camera, bro.
Huh? Oh,
Shaking that off camera.
get up here and pick one.
The
What we
11
got?
pick's not bad because it's not a lot of.
Oh, wait. We got to point out the shorts. Get over here in the middle.
Bro, one just hit
Yeah.
the ground. There it goes. Yeah, the one that hit the ground's got to be the one counted.
James looks like Papa Smurf.
All right. Who is it?
With the 10th pick,
Ryan.
Ryan
That's not
Shamel.
terrible. I was just saying how 11's not bad.
You said you
either.
wanted 8, so you're only 2 off of
not
yours.
bad.
Go ahead, get it to Ryan.
I really hate the actual
Ryan,
turn.
you got to go to Ryan's cam.
The
Make
one-
sure that they can see it.
The 1 and the 12 suck because it's all at double pressure, make 2 picks. The 11 10's not too terrible. Joe C.
Joe
Joe
Carlozo with the what pick is that? 9?
9. Number 9.
Joe Carlozo
Going for number
All
8
right, go
now.
back to me. All right, you got that.
Got it.
All right.
We'll take a picture of these
So
afterwards,
with the 8th pick at this point,
Yeah, number
James
8.
Carusi
James.
with the 8th pick.
Whoever won that one.
All right. All right, let's see.
Joe C. and James C. back to back.
Ricky takes number 7.
Ricky Bobby.
Ricky gets 7. That's not the 1 and 2.
Number 1 pick.
All right, so we're at, what was it, number 7? So we're at
No,
6.
6.
So we're at 6 now.
This is if Fred picks his own name here, we know it's rigged.
Fred's getting number 1.
He picked
Fred's his name.
I swear to God.
It's fine. I know you're not that talented.
No. We can all attest to this.
So I got the 6th pick. Nice.
None of the rest
All
of
right.
us got our numbers, so.
Did you pick
got your
yourself?
At least
You
it's-
5?
But at least it's not your number.
That's funny.
You didn't
No.
want 5, so it's. We're running out of people here, so there's getting to be a better chance that was going to happen.
All right, so where are we at? 4?
4.
With the 4th pick, Chad G.
Back and forth. All right.
All right. Next up. Getting down to the last here. Eric C.
Eric Cook with a 3rd.
The
pick.
other redhead in the league
That's
gets the
number
number 3
3.
pick.
We've reached Fred's
Weird.
max of redheads.
We are down to 2 picks left. Who we got? At number
Isn't
2,
it both cousins?
Nick C.
And then the last one's going to be Drew, right?
That's it. Drew's got the number 1 overall
there you go.
pick.
2 cousins
There
start
you
off
go,
the draft.
Drew.
Drew with the 1st overall pick.
All
Justin
right.
Tucker.
So we got, in order, it's going to be Drew, Nick, Eric, Chad, me, Fred. That's going to get dangerous because I'm going to piss you off a few times. You're going to piss me off a few times.
I kind of like the cousins next to each other. They're going to make each other mad, too.
That's true.
Ricky, James, Joe. I think the 2 of them might make each other mad with a few picks.
Yeah.
Ryan.
Who?
Joe Carlozo is right before you or right after you. So when it comes back on the snake draft, there's anybody Penn State on there.
Is there any way we can make trades? Because I would love to have the last spot, whoever has it.
It's Ryan Hewitt. So it's after Joe, it's Ryan Schammel, then Chuck, then Ryan Hewitt.
Nice.
That is the official draft order.
Well, there you go, fellas. We'll make sure I'll post that in the chat
Sleeper
there,
thing tonight.
Sleeper app tonight, so that way everybody sees it in the morning.
And we'll take
for
a
those
pic-
that
we'll
didn't
take a
tune in.
picture of
the number one pick
Yeah.
says
of the
it's
actual pieces.
Yeah.
Here, we'll get that out of there.
All right. Well, so we've kind of turned this after hours segment into a would you rather segment, some bad dad jokes. We've had a lot of fun with this after hours, just kind of shooting the shit and getting away from sports a little bit. So, Scott, I'm going to let you lead off with this new box of would you rather questions
Yes.
that you picked up from Amazon.
So if anybody would like to actually do it, it's called Pick Your Poison. It's a would you rather game, and you pick out two. So we've picked this game.
Wait, I think Troy thinks we're drawing the other leagues order.
Oh wait, no, yeah, no.
Troy. So that
Another
draft,
league.
that draft's another league, and that's the original Birdland BS, the redraft league.
This is
This is a Dynasty league.
That'll go later in the year when we get closer to the preseason.
Yeah, couldn't talk him into doing that for this one. No. But no, so this is a Pick Your Poison game. So, and I've got another expansion pack for this coming, as well as a Answer the Internet, which are all the kind of the same things.
Right.
Oh, a bunch of would you rather questions. So we're gonna start with this.
See you at the draft, Ricky.
We'll do these two.
See you, Ricky.
All right. Would you rather become mute every afternoon between 2 p.m. and 5 p.m., meaning you can't talk between 2 and 5?
I know what mute means. Thanks.
Thanks for
For
clarity.
those that don't know, all right?
If you don't know what mute means, go ahead and tune out now. Thanks.
Go ahead and hit mute.
Maybe they're still on mute. Maybe they're just reading subtitles at this point. Would you rather become mute every afternoon between 2 and 5 p.m. or have your mouth permanently taste like you just smoked a cigar?
That's easy for me. I'd rather be mute from 2 to 5 p.m. I cannot stand the smell of cigar. I can't taste the
Really? I smoked a
taste
cigar on Sunday. You guys didn't say anything.
You were outdoors. So it didn't bother me as much.
And he was in the other cart.
You said it didn't bother you much
It
either.
didn't. I was surprised. I told you that I was surprised. When you were smoking, I was like, "Oh man, this is gonna suck," and then it really didn't.
Yeah. I would definitely just go mute for 2 to 5.
Okay.
I can't not talk that long. I'm gonna have to taste real bad. I'm gonna be. So
wait,
is there
wait,
like any way to
how
hack
long
this?
was
Can
the
I
taste?
like lick ice cream and like taste that over my
The taste is permanent. It's the mute every day between 2 and 5. So think
Right,
about
but
it.
the taste is permanent.
Right, but think about it this way. That's like after your lunch break, right? For work, you
Yeah.
can't talk to anybody. You're mute.
It's cool. I'm real good at email.
fire?
Real
all
good at
fired.
email.
James,
2 to 5.
2 to 5 mute.
Yeah. I smoke cigars. I'd rather not smell like it. My entire.
Well, it's not you smell like it. It's you just you
I don't wanna
yourself
either.
taste it.
I don't want to taste it either.
Ah, see, I-
If you don't like the taste, why are you smoking them? They don't get you high. Smoke some weed or some shit.
They're
like your
enjoyable,
style,
but
right?
I don't want to smell like. I mean, taste it from the rest of my life.
All right.
Drew chimes in. He says, "Take the mute option." Troy says, "I love cigars." For me, I do too much work in the afternoons. I could not be quiet. I couldn't function being quiet from 2
As
to
long
5.
as you can still like taste other things, I'm taking the taste. Like, you know what I mean? Like if I eat an ice cream and it still tastes like cigars, no, I can't handle that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if your baseline mouth tastes like cigars, which is what I think it's asking for.
Yeah.
I'll take
All right.
that.
Cigars are awful.
All right.
Gonna need to have a lot of hard candies.
All right. So, would you rather be below average
In the bedroom.
We don't have that expansion pack yet, Ryan.
This is not a fill in the blank. Would you rather be below average at everything?
That includes the bedroom.
That includes the bedroom. At everything. Or would you rather be unable to learn anything ever again? Meaning that you are at your max capacity of what you will ever learn in your life. You cannot learn anything new beyond today. Or would you rather be below average at everything that you do?
I'm cool. I'm not learning shit. I barely learn anything now.
So you're going that you would
Yeah, I'm not learning anything.
you'd be done
else.
learning.
It's gonna really hurt Shell and Tell, but that's about it.
I'll carry us. We're good.
I see.
This is simple, dude.
Yeah, it feels real simple.
Yeah.
We're not 5, bro.
I don't want to
We've
be
learned
below
most of what
average.
we're going to learn.
I don't want to be below average.
You can be below average, but you can learn things.
No, you can't.
I don't know. There's a
You're gonna
lot that
stay below
happens.
average.
There's a lot that happens in technology and things that develop
Right,
over the
and that's my
years and
point.
stuff. That you're going to be that old man at like 45 and be like, I don't even know what the fuck this new computer thing is. I don't know how this flying car works.
You're the dude that's stuck with the Nokia like big ass flip phone.
No, I'm stuck with an iPhone 12. We're good.
Yeah.
You think that?
Until
you
that's
think
option.
that?
No, think about this. Think about
People thought that when it was the first
I
iPhone
was
out
saying,
too.
think about the iPhone. Like the iPhone 4 was a big thing for a long time.
Dude,
that
if you're-
shit's now like fucking obsolete.
If you're
Yeah.
below average, you're not learning how to work a phone.
But at least I have
don't
it.
know.
I can use it.
Have you seen what
You're
average
right.
people are like?
Stephanie Summers says, "How far below average?"
Hey,
Especially in the bedroom.
Are we measuring this with a ruler, or what are we talking about?
a C minus is below average.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go be unable to learn anything ever again because I wouldn't want to be below average at absolutely everything.
I'd have to
I do.
be-
That means you just suck pretty much at everything.
Yeah,
can't
I'd have to
drive.
be like 11 years old to like pick the other.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
most of
there's
our
like,
learning's over.
You
yeah,
literally
listen,
can't
for
learn
all-
anything.
I understand what you're saying.
You
but
literally can't. You can't
understand
do
what you're
anything
saying.
more with the show, Fred.
I get that.
And this show would look like garbage because he'd be below average. This is not below average.
That's
Hey,
This is not
hey,
perfect,
right.
but this is not fucking below average.
That's good.
Below
That's a
average
good
for
point.
what?
If you're, hey, Scott, if you're below average, you can't have a kid because he'll be smarter than you.
Then I don't have to worry. They don't have to be worried about me.
Yeah.
for
Troy,
anything.
Troy says
Because
45
then he
ain't
can-
no.
he
I'm
can take
messing
care
with
of
you,
me.
Troy.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but Scott would be like, I'm so proud of my son that he's smarter than me. My whole dream has always been.
Why do you sound like Charles Barkley
I
right
know,
now?
right?
So weird.
Horrible Charles Barkley. But it was Charles
That's
Barkley.
terrible. It's
Here, put that
terrible.
over here.
Oh man.
All right, so we're gonna do 2 of these each week, and when the other ones come, maybe we'll throw in some more. We'll see what the
All
other
right,
ones
Craig
look like.
Zero here. He says, would you rather have Brady win another Super Bowl or Belichick?
Oh man, if I had to pick,
Brady, he's more fun now.
I'm not gonna make Tampa Bay Brady does not bother me as much as New England
No, he
Brady did.
doesn't.
I think if New England were to win another Super Bowl within the next year or two, I think it's the more impressive feat because Tampa Bay is built to win another Super Bowl right now, right? I don't want to see either one of them win, but I think the more impressive feat would be Belichick being able to do it with the squad that he has. But that didn't answer the question.
No,
So,
definitely answer the question.
who would I rather if I had to pick
That's
one?
because you're below average right now.
Yeah. I think that's good.
He can't learn anything new.
No, I think I'd rather.
If you can't learn anything new, you wind up becoming over time.
I'd rather see. I'd rather see Belichick do it because I think it's the more impressive feat.
Yeah. Buffalo Chuck says neither. Buffalo Chuck's got
both.
some
I hear
extra motivation in that fight.
That's
Drew
true.
said fuck 'em both.
That's true.
I would rather. I honestly would rather at this point just see. I'd rather see Tom win.
I'd
another
rather
one.
see my son take over the starting quarterback job with the Patriots and win a Super Bowl.
Wouldn't you like to see that too?
I would.
Okay. No, I'd rather see Tom win him because if Belichick wins one, then we're right back to square one of who made that team better.
Yeah.
Like we're right back to square one. So I'd rather
like
see Tom
to win it.
I'd rather see Tom win it
So
and
that
just
there's a
shut everybody the
definitive answer?
fuck up.
Yeah.
It's-
Okay. I
Tom
get
Brady
that.
was way better than anybody
Can
thought
I change my answer because I get
Yeah.
that? I understand.
I'd like to see
Good
Tom
point.
win one at like 47 so we can just end this GOAT conversation forever.
Yeah.
Like,
I'd love to see him.
It's-
I'd love to see
in
him
my
play,
opinion, it's
play
already
till he's 50.
In my opinion, it's already ended. What do you got,
What-
James?
No, I said Tom Brady, but mine would be: would you rather have a bigger deck or
Whoa.
greener grass than your whole neighborhood?
greener grass. I'm working on it. It's real rough right now.
Man. There's so much more I can do on a big deck than I can with a green grass.
I can.
Hey Fred.
People all like a big deck.
Hey Fred. You go fuck yourself and get the fuck out of my house. I'm done.
Oh man.
God, I'm done with this shit.
All right, appreciate everybody tuning in. Thanks for all the fantasy drafters for tuning in. Like I said, I'll post that later on tonight. We'll see you guys